Chapter 905, The First Sword Trial, Siblings of the Jinyang Sect. Spectators' seats were abuzz with discussions. Clearly, Lu Qingshan's performance in this swordplay tournament had gained the recognition of many. After all, among these disciples, Lu Qingshan was not only young and handsome. During the last tournament, he made his way up by defeating stronger opponents despite being underdog, and ultimately lost due to his insufficient cultivation level, which left many feeling regretful and remembering his name, looking forward to his performance in this tournament. As expected, this year, Lu Qingshan did not disappoint and rose powerfully. In every match, he won victories with overwhelming dominance, inducing admiration and envy. Accompanied by the waves of enthusiastic discussions, Lu Qingshan and Gu Yunyang had already stepped onto the stage. "Junior brother Lu, you are quite impressive." Gu Yunyang wore a proud expression and looked down with a strong intent to fight in his eyes. As a top-tier talent of the Jinyang sect, although he was extremely arrogant, he did not underestimate others. He knew that the opponent's strength would not be much weaker than his own. "Senior brother Gu." Lu Qingshan greeted calmly and indifferently with a clasped hands bow. He then looked toward the distant spectator seats, where his sister Lu Qingzhu was cheering for him, and immediately his face broke into a smile and he gestured with his hand. When Gu Yunyang saw this scene, his face darkened slightly, thinking that the opponent did not take him seriously. The match begins. As the two prepared themselves, the elder presiding over the match in the sky announced, "Golden lustrous body." Gu Yunyang roared on the stage. Instantly, his magical robe transformed into soft armor, his muscles bulged, his body expanded in size, and a golden lustrous glaze glowed from his skin, giving off a staggering aura. "Golden lustrous body, I can't believe senior brother Gu is going all out from the start. Haven't you seen Lu Qingshan's swordsmanship? If he underestimates him, he could be defeated in an instant. Senior brother Gus' golden lustrous body, judging by its appearance, has probably reached nearly the second rank, right?" Indeed, it seems that Gu Yunyang is half a step away from breaking through to the second rank with his golden lustrous body. Once he achieves foundation establishment, he'll break through both at the same time. TSK, this young man really is cautious. That soft armor must be the sun-burning robe, right? The disciples watching the match exclaimed in surprise and engaged in animated discussions. Even some of the elders watched the stage attentively and commented out loud. Cloud-piercing stab, sun-burning slash. Gu Yunyang did not underestimate his opponent and took the initiative, attacking with full force. His body shone brightly, his aura like a rainbow, as he charged at Lu Qingshan, his palm emanating a vigorous and grand sun energy, which transformed into a long blade. If one looked closely, they could see a sharp spike on the blazing long blade. The spike was no more than an inch long, but it seemed to shoot out glowing sparks, filled with a sharp essence. Early sun. Lu Qingshan's magical sword sang softly, and immediately a sharp sword chi shot out. Puff puff puff, the fierce sword chi shot out instantly, as cunning as an antelope hanging its horns, as fluid as a spider spinning silk, and it shredded the fierce and wild sun blade to nothing in an instant. Then, the sword chi seemed to concentrate into an invisible drill, buzzing and whirring, stirring up a tempest of sword chi, clashing violently with the spike. What? He blocked it just like that? The spectating disciples saw how Lu Qingshan so casually parried Gu Yunyang's attack and were stunned and amazed. Most of them, even if they went all out, were not sure they could withstand such a formidable assault. Yet Lu Qingshan had easily defused such an attack. This is sword energy formation. Lu Qingshan, with only chi refining cultivation, has already grasped sword chi like a rainbow, which is quite astonishing in itself, and yet he's also mastered sword energy formation. A genius, a true genius of the sword Dao. No, this is a once-in-an-era genius of the sword Dao. Sister Tianyuan has been away for a long time, yet she has been able to teach such a disciple. The elders of Jinyang sect on the high platform seats displayed shock as they focused earnestly on Lu Qingshan's sword stroke on the platform, appreciating its profound mysteries. The sword Dao is divided into 5 levels: sword chi like a rainbow, sword energy formation, sword energy thunder sound, sword into silk, and sword light division. Although these do not correspond to the cultivation realms of qi refinement, foundation establishment, and core formation, anyone who can comprehend the corresponding level of sword Dao is considered an outstanding sword cultivator. For someone in the qi refinement realm to understand such a level of sword Dao as sword energy formation, that is enough to be called a prodigy. Their Jinyang sect was not a purely sword Dao sect but still had a legacy of swordsmanship. Now, seeing such an exceptional swordsmanship prodigy, they were pleasantly surprised. After all, the saying that sword cultivators are invincible among peers is not a joke, but proven by sword cultivators achieving fame through combat. Gu Yunyang on the stage also looked shocked. He had not expected that his fierce assault could be so effortlessly neutralized by Lu Qingshan. This made him look a bit uncomfortable and feel humiliated. After all, before the tournament, he was everyone's favored contender for the championship. And Lu Qingshan was just a newly rising dark horse. But now, he, the championship contender, was outperformed by this upstart dark horse. Great brilliance King Palm. Heavenly fire seal. He erupted like a golden war deity, his bodis pores emanating flames, which formed a radiant sun that charged straight at Lu Qingshan. Since the other was a sword cultivator, he had a chance if he could get close. Morning sun. Lu Qingshan's expression remained calm and indomitable, as his golden magical sword swung down decisively. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, in an instant, sword chi surged like spirit snakes, trapping and entwining Gu Yunyang, causing the flames around him to roar and bellow wildly. Hiss, is this junior brother Lu's real strength? Sword cultivators, this is the allure of sword cultivators. TSK TSK TSK, sword energy formation, invisible sword chi. This young man's sword Dao talent is truly amazing. Gu Yunyang is entirely unable to find an opening against him. This level of sword Dao talent is indeed stunning. The disciples and elders, watching Lu Qingshan once again easily dissolve Gu Yunyang's onslaught, could not help but comment with awe. Chapter 906, The First Sword Trial, Siblings of the Jinyang Sect. Damn it. Gu Yunyang's face was unsightly, his golden hand continuously striking out in a violent bombardment, attempting to make a move on Lu Qingshan. But a series of sword chi collided with him, leaving him helpless and extremely frustrated, as if venting his rage in a furious explosion. From his storage bag, he produced a small golden red seal, formed a gesture incantation with both hands, causing a light curtain to form around him, his momentum rising, as he continued to press forward against the sword chi towards Lu Qingshan. Take my sword. Lu Qingshan watched the scene, his expression calmly stating. At that moment, his entire demeanor was formidable, bursting forth with an aura that seemed to tear the firmament apart, as the magical sword in his hands suddenly erupted with a fierce golden radiance. At this moment, everyone could feel from Lu Qingshan a spirit of fearlessness, a sword Dao that swallowed the stars, believing firmly that he could overcome anything. Merely this momentum and vigorous spirit made countless people palpitate and surrender. This. On the high platform, several elders widened their eyes, suddenly standing up from their seats, their expressions shocked. Boom! The golden brilliance burst forth, transforming into a blazing sun-like sword wheel that charged towards Gu Yunyang. This dazzling sword wheel, as if filled with a flow of colorful light, struck Gu Yunyang's surrounding light curtain. The top-grade light curtain formed by the magic artifact shattered instantly, like tofu. Yet immediately, Gu Yunyang's golden lustrous body formed a layer of armor. But even this armor shattered in an instant. No! His eyes filled with a horrified color, as if Lu Qingshan's sword was about to strike him down directly. But the next moment, he saw the sword light vanish, and he was unharmed, save for his armor growing dim. You've yielded. Lu Qingshan, clad in a gold and white magical robe, holding the magical sword, stood calmly and indifferently on the platform. Silence. Dead silence. The entire arena was utterly quiet. Everyone stared wide-eyed at Lu Qingshan, whose vigor was buoyant, his sword chi stern, his posture erect. No one had anticipated that in this final duel, Lu Qingshan would win so effortlessly. Although Gu Yunyang didn't suffer as miserably as he had in many previous duels, it was precisely his use of all means, yet ultimately unscathed defeat, that highlighted the astounding strength of Lu Qingshan. Boom! The next moment, the entire arena erupted in a frenzy. He's incredibly strong. How could it be? Brother Gu was defeated just like that. Brother Gu had absolutely no chance to fight back against Lu Qingshan. Is he really just an energy refining cultivator? Ah, junior brother Lu is so handsome, I really like him. A young man as robust as junior brother Lu will surely like a woman with a broad heart like me. That sword just now, I felt a force like thunder and lightning. Could it be the legendary sword energy thunder sound? How is that possible? Sword energy thunder sound is the third realm of sword Dao. Usually only nascent soul immortals can comprehend it. The crowd around the arena voiced out, all with expressions of disbelief, exclaiming in astonishment. Good, good, good. I didn't expect our Jinyang sect to produce such a sword Dao prodigy. Indeed, with this child, our Jinyang sect will surely claim victory in this 5-sects competition. Not only has he grasped sword chi like a rainbow, sword energy formation, but he seems to have also touched a bit of sword energy thunder sound. TSK TSK TSK, this kid is a natural-born sword Dao genius. On the high platform, the Jinyang sect leader and the elders all wore gratified smiles. It can be said that as long as this child does not die young, not to mention definitely achieving core formation, but at the very least, Jinyang sect will have a top-tier sword cultivator unmatched in his realm. Sect leader brother, sister Tianyuan has been away from the sect for a long time. Such a genius might as well join my Jinyan peak. I'll take him as a disciple, guide his cultivation, and he definitely won't waste his talent. At this moment, an authoritative-looking elder beside him looked towards the Jinyang sect leader and spoke up. Brother Jinyan, Gu Yunyang is already your disciple. Do you still want to take Lu Qingshan as your disciple? Sect leader brother, although I'm not solely focused on sword Dao, I also studied it extensively in my early years. Why not let Lu Qingshan come to my Chiang Peak, and I can provide some guidance occasionally? Another elder immediately voiced upon hearing this. A disciple like Lu Qingshan was destined to rise and shine brilliantly in the future. Even if he couldn't be taken as a disciple, they were willing to have a period of mentor-disciple affection and karma. This child is Sister Tianyuan's disciple, her direct disciple at that. Such actions are not in accordance with the sect's rules and etiquette. However, when Sister Tianyuan returns, I will have a good talk with her. The Jinyang sect leader raised his hand and spoke. In this moment, even he believed that Tianyuan true immortal, as Lu Qingshan's master, was somewhat hindering the disciple. After all, they all knew that Tianyuan true immortal often went out seeking opportunities, only occasionally returning to the sect. Under such circumstances, it was entirely unfavorable for the cultivation of Lu Qingshan. Lu Qingshan wins. At that moment, the elder referee announced the result of the duel. Even he, at this very moment, looked at Lu Qingshan with an extraordinary expression. Damn it, Gu Yunyang, watching Lu Qingshan, who was sheathing his sword and about to step down from the arena, shouted loudly, Lu Qingshan, wait until I break through to Foundation Establishment, and I shall fight you again, and I certainly won't lose to you. Several elders from the Jinyang sect, upon seeing this, nodded slightly. Gu Yunyang was also a top-tier talent of the Jinyang sect. Naturally, they did not want him to lose his fighting spirit because of a single duel. Enemies defeated by me are never regarded as my equals. I give you time to catch up until you can't even see me. Lu Qingshan paused in his steps and spoke calmly. Hiss. Everyone was shocked. No one expected Lu Qingshan to be so arrogant. No, this was confidence. Absolute confidence in himself, and invincibility. Perhaps it was precisely because of this that he could achieve such accomplishments in the Sword Dao. At this moment, he fully exemplified the pride and backbone of a sword cultivator. He's too strong, who knows how amazing he will be once he breaks through to Foundation Establishment. With Lu Qingshan here, in the 5-sect sword trial 3 years later, probably no one will be his match. Many disciples from the Jinyang sect exclaimed. Man, this feels really good. Lu Qingshan stepped down from the arena, came over to the spectator stands, and seeing the way people looked at him, his mouth curved slightly upwards. Lu Qingshan, congratulations on winning this sword trial. You may choose 3 rewards. At this moment, the Jinyang sect leader stepped forward, and with a gesture, a large scroll listing the rankings and rewards appeared. Foundation Establishment Elixir, Tianxin Sound Bamboo Sword, Rainbow Feather Garment. Lu Qingshan immediately named the 3 rewards he had set his sights on. The Jinyang sect leader frowned slightly upon hearing this. He could understand the choice of the Tianxin Sound Bamboo Sword, but the Foundation Establishment Elixir and the Rainbow Feather Garment puzzled him. Lu Qingshan, you have now won the first place in the sword trial, and as long as you complete the assessment trial, you can be promoted to a true disciple, at which point you can directly apply for the Foundation Establishment Elixir. Additionally, the Rainbow Feather Garment is a spiritual garment for women, and it does not suit you, said the Jinyang sect leader. For an ordinary disciple, he wouldn't have mentioned it. But Lu Qingshan's case made him feel compelled to give some advice. Sect leader, I understand. Lu Qingshan responded respectfully. Good, remember, the sect's Foundation Establishment elixirs cannot be leaked outside, at most be traded with inner disciples. Seeing this, the Jinyang sect leader said no more and handed over all 3 rewards to Lu Qingshan with a wave of his hand. Thank you, sect leader. Lu Qingshan accepted the gifts and bowed in thanks. Then, he quickly went to the Tianyuan Peak spectator seats, looked at his sister Lu Qingzhu, whose face was full of excitement, and proudly smiled. How about it, little Zhu, isn't your brother amazing? Awesome, really awesome. Bro, you're the best. Lu Qingzhu nodded repeatedly, her eyes filled with admiration. Although she had participated in the sword trial, she hadn't even made it past the top 100 and was eliminated early. Now, seeing her brother winning first place, she was naturally filled with admiration. Here, little Zhu, this is a gift your brother got for you. Lu Qingshan handed over the Foundation Establishment Elixir and Rainbow Feather Garment, belonging to the 3 awards, to his sister. Having the seed of law, he believed breaking through Foundation Establishment didn't require the help of a Foundation Establishment Elixir. Naturally, this Foundation Establishment Elixir was prepared for his sister Lu Qingzhu. Moreover, in his view, since his sister Lu Qingzhu lacked in talent, a single Foundation Establishment Elixir might not ensure her breakthrough in Foundation Establishment. When he was promoted to a true disciple later, the Foundation Establishment Elixirs he applied for could still be used by Lu Qingzhu. Brother. Lu Qingzhu looked at the 2 rewards, her beautiful eyes brimming with emotion. What are we being so formal for, little Zhu? Come on, let's go home. Lu Qingshan said with a casual and indulgent smile, affectionately ruffled her hair, and led Lu Qingzhu back towards Tianyuan Peak. The Jinyang sect leader and several elders saw this scene and nodded slightly. They had heard that Tianyuan Peak had taken in 2 disciples years ago who were siblings. The sister, compared to Lu Qingshan, was quite ordinary, nothing spectacular, and lacked brilliance. Chapter 907, Yun Wanshang, Let Me Give You My Blessing. The boundless clear sky, a pure azure expanse. A sapphire spirit boat soared through the air. Standing on the boat were a young man and woman. The man appeared to be in his 20s, draped in luxurious sky-blue robes, a tall and elegant figure like a graceful tree swaying in the breeze. His stunning, ethereal face was calm and indifferent, his lips adorned with a faint smile that felt as warming as a spring breeze, evoking a sense of goodwill in those who saw him. The woman also seemed to be in her 20s, her beauty fresh and sublime, beyond the mundane world, clad in a moon-white flowing cloud dress, resembling the bright moon above, clear and luminous. Her gorgeous features were gentle and soft, her cool eyes gazing distantly at the Qingyun sect shrouded in mist and bathed in the light of dawn, her ample chest rising and falling slightly as if preoccupied with thoughts, unlike the man's relaxed and comfortable demeanor. Shiyu, relax your heart. Lu Changsheng, while looking ahead at the Qingyun sect, was also somewhat tense inside, not as calm as he appeared on the surface. After all, making a marriage proposal was an experience he had also gone through only once in his life. It had been to the previous generation of the Lu family ancestor, not directly to Lu Yuanding, his prospective father-in-law. Now, to propose marriage to a nascent soul immortal, to say there was no pressure would be impossible. Xiao Xia nodded her lovely head gently, her lunar eyes filled with ripples like droplets of water. Before long, the spirit boat landed in front of the gate of the Qingyun sect. Greetings to Uncle Master Xiao. Greetings to Uncle Master Shiyu. Upon seeing Xiao Xia, the disciples at the gate immediately bowed in respect. Someone like Zhao Qingxing might not be recognized by many disciples. But Xiao Xia had an enormous reputation within the Qingyun sect. Not only had her master and senior sister become nascent soul immortals, but she was also a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. Xiao Xia's face remained cool and exceptional, like a bright moon in a frosty night, dignified and noble, bringing Lu Changxing into the Qingyun sect and flying towards Kaiyun Peak. Although the two did not show excessive affection, they did not seem unfamiliar either. This caused many along the way who greeted Xiao Xia to look surprised and puzzled. It was unexpected that the famous fairy Shiyu would be so close to a man. Especially those who knew Lu Changxing and had heard of his big name were even more suspicious and bewildered when they saw this scene. Isn't he master of Bihu Mountain, Lu Changxing? How can he be so intimate with junior sister Shiyu? Could it be that his relationship with senior sister Xiao isn't ordinary? No, that's impossible. Junior sister Xiao is a high and mighty Moon Palace fairy. How could she have anything to do with this Lu Changxing? I heard that Lu Changxing had known junior sister Xiao from a long time ago. Perhaps they're just friends. I heard that not long ago, Lu Changxing took more than 10 maidens as concubines. How could junior sister Shiyu associate with such a man? This mountain lord Lu does indeed appear as handsome and elegant as the rumors say, and he's also a second-order top-level talisman master, and a second-order alchemist. What business does this Lu Changxing have at Qingyun sect? As they watched the two fly towards Kaiyun Peak, many people were buzzing with discussion. Xiao Xia's reputation in Qingyun sect was immense, but Lu Changsheng's name had also grown considerably over the years. Particularly not long ago, the achievement of defeating the great elder of the Jinlong Ridge Jin family alongside Lu Miaoga had astonished many Qingyun sect disciples. After all, such combat capabilities, even within the Qingyun sect, set one apart as an influential figure. Shiyu seems to be quite admired within the sect. Lu Changxing, although he had not heard the comments of others, noticed many eyes looking towards him and could decipher their expressions and gazes. As for such stares, Mr. Lu was naturally quite familiar. He thought to himself that if he were truly to become Dao companions with Xiao Xia and hold a grand ceremony, the Qingyun sect would likely experience countless heartbreaks. Worse still, there might be Qingyun sect disciples who held a grudge against him and sought trouble, much like Meng Yibai in the past. TSK, indeed, winning the favor of a fairy is no easy task. Lu Changxing mused to himself with a sense of wonder. Xiao Xia gave Lu Changxing a white glance and pointed to the imposing mountain peak ahead, shrouded in spiritual energy and with waterfalls cascading down. Changxing, that's Kaiyun Peak. Good. Lu Changxing nodded his head, his face showing a serious and earnest demeanor. He also felt a surge of curiosity, keen to see Xiao Xia's master, the prestigious Kaiyun True Immortal. After all, her big name was as thunderous to his ears. Not only was she the master of the enforcement hall, but she had also trained Xu Qingyi to become a nascent soul immortal. In the past, she was the one who annihilated the Xiahou clan from Blackwater Pool. Recently, she had defeated a core formation true immortal of the Luoxia sect in the Luoyun mountain range, her combat power being extraordinary. Xiao Xia took out her identity jade, opened the formation, and entered Kaiyun Peak with Lu Changxing. Then they made their way to the magnificent and majestic palace at the peak of the mountain. Master. Xiao Xia spoke with a respectful bow. If her master was not in secluded meditation, she would be able to sense her and respond. Seeing this, Lu Changxing also bowed respectfully alongside Xiao Xia. Not to mention that the Kaiyun True Immortal was Xiao Xia's master and elder, just her status as a nascent soul immortal demanded his utmost respect. At this very moment, within the palace. Sun-Moon Samsara technique, hearts resonating, thoughts merging, Yun Wanshang sat cross-legged, quietly observing the jade slip in her hand. Although she had been injured in the Luoyun mountain range secret realm, she had still gained quite a lot. Her greatest acquisition was the technique jade slip in her hand. This cultivation technique was profound and mysterious, classified as an auxiliary one, with cultivation of it aiding cultivators in breaking through foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul formation, and divinity transformation. The only issue was, it was a dual cultivation technique. You needed to engage in male-female dual cultivation, the union of yin and yang, for the third layer to be breached, aiding in the breakthrough to the nascent soul stage. Phew. Yun Wanshang gazed at it for a long time, her hand lightly touching her forehead as she set the cultivation technique down. Chapter 908, Yun Wanshang, shall I make it happen for you? Even through her discerning eyes, she had to admit that this cultivation technique was profound, far surpassing most of the techniques she had encountered. If one could find a dual cultivation Tao companion with aligned ambitions, it was estimated the chances of a breakthrough could increase by 20 to 30%. To break through from core formation to nascent soul, one faced two major tribulations. The nascent soul's heavenly tribulation and the demonic tribulation. And this Sun-Moon Samsara technique allowed male and female cultivators, upon reaching a certain stage, to enter a marvelous state that transcended the physical body, union of spirit and divine essence. This related to the concept of the soul path dreams. It even pertained to the rumored samsara mood. In such a marvelous state, the two could experience a new life, greatly aiding their understanding of the heart's condition and the great Tao. If one could achieve mental and spiritual perfection through this method, then facing one of the dual nascent soul tribulations, the demonic tribulation, would pose no obstacle. If only I had obtained this technique in my earlier years, Yun Wanshang thought of her own Tongyu Phoenix marrow body and felt a surge of frustration. Her physique had hardly any enhancing effects in the early stages. Only after breaking through to core formation would it generate a strand of spirit-nurturing energy. For a nascent soul cultivator, this was an invaluable treasure. Through male and female dual cultivation, one could continually refine the true elixir, increasing the chances of nurturing the nascent soul. It could be said that such a selfless physique made countless core formation cultivators flock to her. If she wanted, she could immediately choose any genius or exceptional cultivator to be her Tao companion. By leveraging her Tongyu Phoenix marrow body and this Sun-Moon Samsara technique, if she could just find a suitable Tao companion, it would be like adding a 50% chance to nurture her nascent soul. But fate was cruel. Her spirit Phoenix marrow body had been broken by a little Qi refinement cultivator and entered his body. Even more ironic was that this little cultivator had formed a bond with her disciple. This Lu Changxing must possess some kind of top-tier physique. If only he and Shiyu were not involved, he would have been a fine candidate, Yun Wanshang murmured to herself, as a potential Tao companion came to mind. But she immediately shook her head, discarding the thought. Although the man likely possessed a top-tier physique and a talent beyond her expectations, with a promising future in core formation, just thinking about his boorish behavior, and his ties with her disciple Xiao Xia, she felt agitated. At that moment, Yun Wanshang heard Xiao Xia's voice outside the palace. She wanted to open the palace doors to ask Xiao Xia what was the matter, but she immediately sensed another presence outside the hall, besides Xiao Xia. The other person, in a green robe with an ethereal handsomeness, stood shoulder to shoulder with Xiao Xia, clasping hands in a salute. Although Lu Changsheng's appearance and aura had slightly changed over the years, she recognized him at a glance. Why has he come? Yun Wanshang furrowed her brows, her regal and slightly pale, stunning face instantly chilled. She knew that her disciple Xiao Xia had gone to Bai Lake Mountain to meet with Lu Changsheng. But why was Xiao Xia bringing Lu Changsheng to Kaiyun Peak to see her now? And seeing how naturally close the two stood together, she felt an inexplicable irritation rise within her. Shiyu, what is the matter? Yun Wanshang stood up, her eyebrows like finely drawn artwork, yet exuding an indescribable coldness. The entire room was like an ancient ice mountain, nobly cold, chilling to the bone. Master, Xiaoxia, feeling the vibrations from within the hall and hearing her master's voice, trembled slightly. As a disciple, she knew her master very well. She could tell from the tone of her voice that her master was in a bad mood. Otherwise, her master would not speak in such a tone, or keep the palace doors shut. She knew she had disappointed her master with her actions. Is this person Shiyu's master, Kaiyan true immortal? Lu Changsheng, hearing the woman's voice, detected a degree of cold indifference. From the situation, he immediately knew proposing to Xiaoxia could be difficult. The master seemed displeased with him. Shouldn't a mother-in-law look more favorably upon a son-in-law as time passed? However, Lu Changsheng also roughly understood the reasons. Xiaoxia's cultivation was likely to suffer if she entangled herself in romantic affairs. Her master could turn a blind eye if it was just about cultivation. But bringing him to meet the master showed that Xiaoxia had serious intentions, which could ruin her future prospects. Naturally, her master would be angry. But no matter what, Lu Changsheng believed he needed to show the responsibility a man should bear at this moment. And according to the circumstances, was the mother-in-law, at this point, should she be called a mother-in-law or still be addressed as master? Regardless, he needed to show responsibility and accountability in her presence, not letting Xiaoxia bear her anger. Youngster Lu Changsheng greets the true immortal. I'm deeply aligned with Shiyu. Therefore, I've come to meet you and humbly ask for your blessing. Lu Changsheng bowed deeply toward the imposing hall, speaking his request. Blessing? The cold and authoritative voice from the hall rose, making Lu Changsheng feel weighed down. As if a great mountain pressed upon him, even the air around him seemed to solidify. Lu Changsheng had once felt a taste of the core formation's pressure from Nangong Mili. But that pressure paled in comparison to the intensity emanating from this Kaiyan true immortal. Master. Xiaoxia hastily called out to her master, her voice filled with concern, fearing that her master would take action against Lu Changsheng. Shiyu, you've truly disappointed your teacher. Yin Wanshang, seeing the affectionate comportment of the two lovers, felt even more agitation, contemplating whether to cut down Lu Changsheng with a single stroke. He not only caused her to be mentally disturbed but also led her disciple down this troubled path. Xiaoxia's Dao heart was firm, and her future in core formation was promising. But now, because of a man, she had fallen deep, which regretfully made her master disappointed and resentful. Chapter 909, Yun Wanshang, shall I make it happen for you? Master. Lu Changsheng and I are merely cultivating, and only by leaving no regrets can we sever emotional entanglements and wholeheartedly pursue the Tao, Xiaoxia said to her own master. Shiyu. Lu Changsheng knew Xiaoxia was making excuses, likely having used this same rhetoric to explain to her master before. Probably for that reason, when he brought up the matter of marriage, Xiaoxia was somewhat hesitant. He immediately stood tall under the pressure and, with a cupped fist, said, "Real person." But before he could finish his words, a female voice rang out from within the palace. Are you trying to explain and take responsibility for her to gain favor? Shiyu is inexperienced. Do you still want to deceive me? If you truly like Shiyu, you should know that once her cultivation falls into emotional obstacles, the great Tao is hopeless. Yun Wanshang said coldly. Although she was annoyed by Xiaoxia's affairs and despaired of her being iron unfit for steel, she also felt inexplicably irritable towards Lu Changsheng. The lad understands, but Shiyu and I truly love each other. I only hope real person would bless us. I will not obstruct or blame Shiyu if she seeks the Tao someday. I will only find ways to support and fulfill her. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and said aloud, bearing the pressure. Before this, he had envisioned several scenarios, never expecting it would turn out this way. At this moment, he felt like a poor scholar who unintentionally encountered a distinguished young lady and now faced the beating of love birds when coming to ask for her hand. After a moment of silence in the great hall, the female voice continued, You can deceive Shiyu with these words, but do you think you can deceive me? Shiyu is inexperienced and naive, blinded by affection, unable to see your true face. If you truly wish to help Shiyu achieve Tao, why would you do this? Yun Wanshang continued. Thinking about this, she recalled how, due to the Red Phoenix karma fire, she had spent a night with Lu Changxing, who had then looked at her pitifully and helplessly like a married man. At the time, she actually believed he was some sort of decent married man. Only to find out later he already had multiple wives and was the father of dozens of children. Utterly shameless. At the thought, Yun Wanshang's heart surged with anger, almost wishing to cleave him with a sword. She had genuinely been pure then, her spirit-nurturing energy had even benefited him, and yet he had the nerve to seem aggrieved. Not only her, but now her disciple Xiao Xie was deceived by this vile thief. Outside the great hall, Lu Changsheng's mouth twitched, uncertain how to respond to this. As the other had said, in his early years with Xiao Xie, he harbored ulterior motives, not wanting Xiao Xie to leave. But isn't that human nature? Facing such a fairy, who could merely focus on cultivation. Shiyu, this man just looks decent, but how can mere sweet words and a honeyed mouth trap you in emotional jeopardy? Yun Wanshang continued to speak out. Lu Changxing. Could we just talk properly? Why is there personal attack? Master, Xiao Xie's head drooped slightly, at this moment unsure of what to say. For decades, she had never seen her master so angry. Knowing she had thoroughly disappointed her master, she dared not defend herself too much. Now that things have come to this, I will say no more. Take this cultivation technique and go cultivate. Shiyu, if you do not achieve core formation within 50 years, I will personally slay him. Yun Wanshang knew that given the circumstances, her own interference would be futile. Since it had come to this, she decided to put some pressure on them. Amid her words, a jade slip whooshed from within the hall, appearing before Xiao Xie. Lu Changxing. Why should I be slain if Xiao Xie fails to achieve core formation within 50 years? Isn't this too tyrannical? Hey, but 50 years feel quite long though. With his circumstances, achieving core formation within 50 years was more than feasible. Once I achieve core formation and condense a high-quality gold core, it might not even be clear who could slay whom. Immediately, Lu Changxing cupped his hands and said aloud, please rest assured, real person. If Shiyu fails to achieve core formation within 50 years, there is no need for the real person to take action. I, Lu Changxing, will personally come to Kaiyun Peak to admit guilt and accept whatever punishment the real person decrees. 50 years later, he would stand here and see if she could slay him. However, he felt they could find a solution to Xiao Xie's cultivation issues within the 50 years. Changxing. Hearing this, Xiao Xie's face froze, suddenly looking at Lu Changxing. Although 50 years was a long time, providing ample time to cultivate to foundation establishment peak, the breakthrough to core formation was not that simple. Even if she cultivated the supreme forgetful love technique, she needed to make various preparations for core formation. Like many foundation establishment peak cultivators, they spent their whole lives at the foundation level because they dared not attempt the breakthrough, the chances being far too low. Furthermore, she herself lacked the confidence to overcome this emotional hurdle. Chapter 9-10, The Tremor of the Sun-Moon Samsara Technique and the Tongyu Phoenix Marrow Body. Inside the palace, Yun Wanshang heard Lu Changsheng's reply and was somewhat astonished. She knew very well the situation of her disciple, Xiao Xie. Setting a 50-year time limit was merely a hope that Xiao Xie could leverage these feelings to overcome the emotional barrier. As for Lu Changxing, she didn't have any expectations at all. But Lu Changsheng's actions had caught her off guard. If Xiao Xie couldn't make a breakthrough in core formation within 50 years, he had offered to come and confess his guilt. Had it not been for his swine-like behavior, she would have been quite satisfied with this sense of responsibility. After all, as a nascent soul immortal, with sharp spiritual sense, she could tell that Lu Changxing was truly sincere with his words, and they were not a sham. Is he truly so deeply in love with Shiyu, or does he have some hidden confidence? Yun Wanshang's face was stunningly beautiful, her eyes like water, noble and frosty. She glanced subconsciously at Lu Changsheng's cultivation level situation. Still at the foundation establishment mid-stage? No advancement in body refinement either? Kaiyun True Immortal's eyebrows furrowed. Over 10 years ago, Lu Changxing had already reached the foundation establishment mid-stage cultivation level. Furthermore, he practiced magical dual cultivation, ranking even higher than Xiao Xie. Now more than 10 years had passed, and he hadn't advanced at all. Could it be that after establishing a family, he became engrossed in the pleasures of the flesh? Yun Wanshang immediately speculated that Lu Changxing, after establishing a stable life with his family, had become lax in his cultivation, indulging in pleasures and neglecting his duties. After all, she was aware of many such incidents. Many loose cultivators, after breaking through to foundation establishment, would feel content with life and abandon their path halfway, losing themselves in enjoyment. Suddenly, she felt a surge of frustration, like the helpless anger of finding iron but being unable to forge steel. She believed that Lu Changxing, who clearly had fortuitous opportunities and a top-tier physique, did not know how to cherish them, indulging in pleasures and wasting his potential. Although she believed she had no ties or relations with Lu Changxing, and that it was none of her concern, for some reason, she felt irritated. Even if we have no ties, you have received my spirit-nurturing energy. You can be useless, but I, Yun Wanshang, will absolutely not allow someone who received my spirit-nurturing energy to be someone who only knows how to indulge in pleasures and waste their life. Yun Wanshang's delicate, jade-like hands clenched tightly, her eyes flashing with an indescribable chill. She then coldly addressed Lu Changxing, who was outside the grand hall. If your cultivation progresses too slowly and hampers Shiyu, I will still eliminate you. Outside the grand hall, Lu Changxing was startled and somewhat bewildered. Hadn't Shiyu said her master was quite reasonable? Why so domineering? If Xiao Xie couldn't break through core formation in 50 years, she would eliminate him. If his own cultivation was slow and he hindered Xiao Xie, she would also eliminate him. Indeed, the disciple of a nascent soul immortal was not so easily married. Luckily, he had backups and was not worried at all. Facing the invisible pressure, he stood tall, bowed, and said, "Please rest assured, true immortal, I will definitely not hamper Shiyu, and we will both strive for core formation within 50 years. But, I also have a request. If Shiyu and I both successfully break through to core formation, I hope you will give us your blessings." Lu Changxing spoke with neither humility nor arrogance. Although he was confident that after core formation, he would not fear Kaiyun True Immortal, and she couldn't stop him, she was, after all, Xiao Xie's master, an elder, and still deserved his respect. Moreover, there was an old saying, a love without the blessings of elders is ultimately imperfect. For the sake of Xiao Xie, he also hoped to receive the recognition, approval, and blessings of this Kaiyun True Immortal. Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyes were piercing, her brows slightly furrowed, wondering where Lu Changxing got the confidence to boldly claim that he and Xiao Xie could both challenge core formation within 50 years. Although his cultivation used to be faster than Xiao Xie in his early years, once Xiao Xie overcame the emotional trial of the supreme forgetful love technique, she could quickly obtain core formation spiritual objects and coagulation crystal elixir through Qingyun sect. As a clan cultivator, he would definitely not be able to get the coagulation crystal elixir. At most, he would spend a great price to collect 1 or 2 core formation spiritual objects. This is why the cultivation path of loose cultivators is difficult. Everything can only be relied upon oneself. During the Qi training stage, scurrying about for a foundation establishment elixir, foundation establishment spirit objects. During foundation establishment stage, scurrying about for a coagulation crystal elixir, core formation spiritual objects. Many loose cultivators might busy themselves their entire lives and end up with nothing, or even worse, with their lives and souls scattered, bones buried in the wilderness. However, since Lu Changxing said so, she no longer said anything more and coldly replied with a clear, indifferent voice, "If you can achieve core formation within 50 years, I will no longer meddle in the matter between you and Shiyu. And if Shiyu is willing, I may even personally conduct the Tao Companion ceremony for you both. But if you fail, don't blame me for being heartless." Yun Wanshang's gorgeous face was expressionless, her voice clear and moving as it carried the authority unique to those above. Xiao Xie wants to break through the third layer of supreme forgetfulness. She must overcome the emotional obstacles. Once she overcomes the emotional obstacles, even if she doesn't forget Lu Changxing, she would be able to view this relationship calmly. At that time, it's highly likely the two would not be able to continue their romance. If they indeed rekindle their past relationship, but both have broken through to core formation, she as a master wouldn't interfere anymore. After all, at this stage in cultivation, one does not need others to meddle in their path. Thank you, true immortal. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately bowed in thanks towards the grand hall. He thought to himself that although she was somewhat overbearing, she was still a reasonable person. There was no response from within the grand hall. Changxing. Xiao Xie looked at the quiet grand hall, turned her beautiful head towards Lu Changxing, and felt a wave of emotion in her heart. She believed that Lu Changxing had the potential to break through to core formation within 50 years, but she was not certain about herself. Rest assured, I have everything under control, said Lu Changxing as he held Xiao Xie's fair hand, his expression gentle and voice soft. Wuxia World. Sight. Co. Chapter 9-11, The Tremor of the Sun-Moon Samsara Technique and the Tongyu Phoenix Marrow Body. Shiyu, remember to head to the Luoyun mountain range as soon as possible. At this moment, the cold and majestic female voice rang out again in the hall, accompanied by a breeze that swept the two people away, sending them from the front of the great hall. Yun Wanshang had reluctantly agreed to the two of them. But watching them display such affectionate behavior, especially Lu Changxing who had coaxed her own disciple, she felt a wave of irritation and displeasure in her heart. Even though she did not want to be the kind of person who interferes in a couple's relationship, she just couldn't help feeling upset. It's better to be out of sight, out of mind. Yes, master. Xiao Xie pursed her lips slightly, bowing deeply toward the summit palace. Although she had not received her master's approval today, this conversation had made her aware of her master's attitude. As long as her cultivation was not delayed, she could be with Lu Changxing openly and without needing to hide. It was this 50-year time limit that added a sense of urgency in her heart. Changxing, master is not usually like this, don't take it to heart. Xiao Xie explained to Lu Changxing at this time. She believed that her master's unusual behavior today was entirely because she had disappointed her master with her own actions. What's there to worry about? The true immortal only wants what's best for you. Besides, the true immortal is very reasonable, and when we both reach core formation, she will even host a ceremony for us. Lu Changxing said with a smile, not feeling particularly sentimental. He was also a father. He could fully understand the other party's actions. A promising disciple, nurtured for so many years, and now she's entangled with a man like you. If it spoils her cultivation and she loses her path to the Tao, what can you offer as compensation? Were it his own daughter, Lu Changxing felt he would have already drawn a sword. By the way, what is the cultivation technique the true immortal gave you? At this point, Lu Changxing looked at the technique jade slip in Xiao Xie's hand and asked aloud. He remembered, the Kaiyun true immortal said that the technique was for the two of them to cultivate together. The Sun-Moon Samsara technique. Xiao Xie looked curiously at the technique jade slip in her hand. But as she glanced over its content, her face flushed with a tinge of red. She had not expected her master to give her a dual cultivation technique, let alone for her to cultivate it together with Lu Changxing. This. What's wrong? Seeing her reaction, Lu Changxing asked curiously. Xiao Xie said nothing and handed the technique jade slip to Lu Changxing. The Sun-Moon Samsara technique, the flow of mana, harvesting the soul of the sun and the spirit of the moon from heaven and earth, transforming them into the great medicine of the cauldron, through the union of male and female in dual cultivation, the joining of yin and yang, the meeting of kan and li. Lu Changxing examined the jade slip with his divine sense, and upon seeing the content of the technique, he immediately understood why Xiao Xie looked so embarrassed. He put away the jade slip, his expression gentle, and laughed. Since it's the true immortal's wish, we should diligently comprehend and cultivate it, striving for an early breakthrough in core formation. Emichim, Xiaoxia murmured in agreement. Soon after, the two of them arrived at Xiaoxia's place of residence, the Mingyue residence. The entire great hall was spacious and simple, with only 2 servant disciples in the courtyard. Just like the core disciples of the Qinyan sect, they could select servants from the outer sect to take care of trivial matters. Miss, the 2 girls were as shocked as if they had seen a ghost when they saw their mistress bringing a man with her. Xiaoxia once again showed her usual cool and indifferent demeanor, explaining that this was her good friend, who had come to discuss the Tao. She told the 2 to make the necessary arrangements. Of course, the 2 girls did not dare to question further. After all, choosing to become servants meant binding their lives to a core disciple. If the core disciple eventually becomes a sect executor or elder, then they too could become a steward. After Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia arrived at the cave mansion, they did not sit down to discuss the Tao but instead jointly examined the cultivation technique in the jade slip. It took some time, but the 2 of them eventually understood why the Kaiyun True Immortal would give them this manual. This Sun-Moon Samsara technique was indeed profound and intricate. Not only was it beneficial to their cultivation, but it could also help them break through realms. Furthermore, it involved soul, mindset, and the perception of the great Tao, truly a top-tier dual cultivation technique. Even from Lu Changsheng's perspective, this technique was top-tier, far surpassing his own tender embrace technique. This Kaiyun True Immortal probably wants Shiyu to complement the mindset issues of the Supreme Forgetful Love technique through this cultivation technique, Lu Changxing mused in his heart. He knew that the Supreme Forgetful Love technique placed great emphasis on mindset. And this cultivation technique, once cultivated to a certain level, allowed for the soul and consciousness to dual cultivate, entering a marvelous state of spiritual union. In this state, both individuals would feel as if they were experiencing reincarnation, living through a life in a dreamlike state. It was greatly beneficial for mindset and the perception of the great Tao. But this technique seems quite difficult. Lu Changxing glanced through the complex content of the technique with some trepidation. Aside from spending time early on cultivating techniques like the returning origin technique and the flame bullet technique, he had never seriously studied any cultivation techniques. All cultivation techniques were inherited through the system. He only studied the Purple Mansion Nurturing Spirit technique and the Red Phoenix True Scriptures Soul Dispersion Needle briefly. But even these 2 techniques were just a basic introduction and not at a highly proficient level. This Sun-Moon Samsara technique was incredibly elaborate. Firstly, one needed to sense the essence of the sun and moon from the heavens and earth and collect the soul of the sun and spirit of the moon within the body to form the great medicine. After completing this step, through the mutual interplay of yin and yang, the meeting of kan and li, the formation of the yin-yang wheel, mutual cultivation, they would evolve the sun and moon within the body, and then use the sun-moon cauldron to produce xian pearls, and so on. This process also required the 2 people to be in harmony, with cultivation levels as close as possible, among a host of other stringent conditions. If there were the slightest mistake, it could lead to the loss of all previous efforts, which was enough to give Lu Changxing a headache, fearing that he might not be able to keep up with Xiaoxia's progress. This top-tier dual cultivation technique is even more demanding than the ordinary ones, being several times harder. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 912, The Tremor of the Sun-Moon Samsara Technique and the Tongyu Phoenix Marrow Body. Kaiyun True Immortal gave us this cultivation technique for Shiyu and me to cultivate together. Did she not consider whether I would be able to master it? Lu Changxing spoke with a hint of helplessness. However, with the technique before his eyes, he naturally had no reason to shrink back. Immediately, he and Xiaoxia discussed the technique over tea, studying its intricacies in detail. After both gained a clear understanding of the first layer, they began to attempt its practice. Maintain the Tao heart constantly, do not let the conscious mind arise. In an instant, all things are void. The solar spirit is the golden crow, the lunar essence is the jade rabbit. When nature and sentiment merge, facing each other, Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia sat cross-legged, chanting the opening verse of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique, calming their mental spirits, ready to sense the heaven and earth, sun and moon, to harvest the solar spirit and lunar essence. As time slowly passed, Lu Changsheng's mental spirit became increasingly tranquil, entering the state of cultivation. It felt like the surroundings were illusory, with a sun and moon hanging in the sky dome. The solar spirit from the jade rabbit, the lunar essence from the golden crow, gathered within the furnace, turning into a pool of water. Lu Changsheng envisioned himself as a golden cauldron, absorbing the essence of the solar spirit, melting it into medicine for the human body. However, as he continued to accumulate and draw in the solar essence, the moon-shaped Minghua trembled opposite him, causing the sun and moon in the sky dome to suddenly vanish. As if waking from a dream, he opened his eyes. Changsheng, I'm sorry, Xiao Xia's beautiful eyes opened, apologizing with a hint of shame. It was her first time practicing this cultivation technique, and she was still somewhat awkward in the process. This caused an error in the gathering of the solar spirit and lunar essence, affecting Lu Changsheng and interrupting their practice. Lu Changsheng froze, his thoughts in disarray. He hadn't expected that during the practice, it was Xiao Xia who failed, whereas his own practice flowed like clouds and water. What was going on? Could it be that he had an extraordinary talent for dual cultivation techniques, with an instant understanding? But he clearly did not fully comprehend this cultivation technique, mastering only the general principles. No matter, we just need to do it a few more times. Lu Changsheng chuckled softly, speaking gently. Once again, the two resumed their cultivation. During the process, Lu Changsheng grew increasingly proficient, gaining a deeper understanding of the sun-moon samsara technique. He even had lateral thoughts, enhancing his comprehension of both techniques by drawing on the yin-yang harmony technique from his mind. This took Lu Changsheng by surprise. He didn't know if it was due to his spiritual body or if he was naturally suited to this kind of technique. He was mastering it so quickly. Then, when Xiao Xia encountered problems again, causing another interruption in their cultivation, Lu Changsheng shared his insights, pointing out the issues for her. Xiao Xia's eyes filled with admiration and awe as she watched Lu Changsheng, despite feeling ashamed. In her early years, she had been praised by her master for her excellent comprehension. Yet now, her comprehension seemed trivial compared to Lu Changsheng's. This filled her with amazement, proud of her sweetheart's unparalleled comprehension. Lu Changsheng felt somewhat buoyed by Xiao Xia's admiring and idolizing gaze. After all, whether it was talisman making or alchemy he had attained in earlier years, although achieved through his own efforts, it was not as gratifying as success due to his innate talent. Thus, under Lu Changsheng's continuous guidance and teaching, Xiao Xia gradually entered the state of cultivation, both entering a mystic state together. Above their heads seemed to hover a great sun and a bright moon, forming an invisible furnace, slowly beginning to burn and turn into medicine. Seeing this step, Lu Changsheng naturally proceeded to the next. He circulated the mana of the solar spirit and lunar essence through the Bodhis orifices, merging and cycling them, transferring them into Xiao Xia. Xiao Xia let out a soft moan, immediately steadying her mental spirit. She circulated the medicine, the solar spirit, the lunar essence, and the mana she had absorbed within her Tao foundation. They turned into a warm, slippery sweetness which she slowly transferred into Lu Changsheng's mouth. This essence felt like a harmonious blend of yin and yang, constantly nourishing the pair's flesh, mana, providing a refreshing sensation throughout the body. As they merged as intimately as milk blends with water, the invisible cauldron above their heads became indistinctly visible, rotating like the turning of the sun and moon, slowly spinning. Following that, a rustling sound emerged. The green robe and the moon-white dress slipped aside as the two began the true dual cultivation steps, engaging in the harmony of yin and yang. In this process, for some reason, Lu Changsheng was extremely skilled and natural, as if by instinct. Xiao Xia, though already Lu Changsheng's wife for many years, found maintaining mental tranquility and the operation of the technique through the tingling sensations akin to electric shocks particularly difficult, with many stumbles along the way. Fortunately, with Lu Changsheng's guidance in the operation of the sun-moon samsara technique, the two barely managed to form a state of yin and yang circulation. Time passed, unmeasured. The two completed their first session of cultivation. At that moment, the Tao foundations of Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xia vibrated. It seemed as if a mysterious power quietly bloomed between the two as they engaged in dual cultivation, creating an indescribable state where, in a trance, they glimpsed the opportunity for soul fusion, a truly profound experience. After a long while, Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xie both opened their eyes and looked at each other. Changsheng, Xiao Xie's skin was like jade, emitting a soft luster, her face showing a faint blush, an endearing shyness overcoming her. Shiyu. Lu Changsheng tenderly embraced her, his palm gently caressing the fairy's jade body to soothe the lingering sensations. Much later, he sighed with emotion, this sun-moon samsara technique is incredibly profound. To think we would achieve such an effect after barely cultivating it for the first cycle. He and Xiao Xie had just engaged in dual cultivation and had only completed the first step, the coexistence of yin and yang. It would take at least 49 times of dual cultivation to potentially form a harmonious coexistence state, gradually evolving the sun and moon within themselves, reaching the stage of producing the profound pearl, and so on. But after just the first cultivation, not only had his cultivation level slightly increased, but he also felt as if his entire being had been baptized. Knowing he had this cultivation technique, his chances of breaking through to core formation in the future and forming a superior gold core, no, a first-grade golden core had significantly increased. Xiao Xie nodded lightly in agreement, also sensing the profundity of the cultivation technique. Her beautiful eyes shone with light as she whispered softly, "If it weren't for you, Changsheng, I feel like in the midst of running the technique." Xiao Xie shared the problems she encountered during the cultivation process. Although they had completed a cycle of dual cultivation, the process could hardly be described as perfect. Had it not been for Lu Changsheng's guidance, Xiao Xie felt she was still lacking. This increased her recognition of Lu Changsheng's talent and comprehension. Shiyu, the true immortal, said that we should diligently cultivate this sun-moon samsara technique, so we must make the best use of our time. After a moment of tenderness, Lu Changsheng spoke softly, his hands filled with a rich and smooth overflow, looking at the Moon Palace fairy before him, their eyes meeting. Immediately after, accompanied by a breathy sigh, as the sun will turned, they began to meld together again like milk with water, yin and yang meeting. At this very moment, at the peak of Kaiyun Peak within the palace. Yun Wanshang slowly opened her beautiful eyes from a meditative state, her dignified and gorgeous face showing a hint of puzzlement. In the very instant just now, for some unknown reason, she felt an inexplicable palpitation. This palpitation was very faint. Even she did not know where it came from at that moment. But as a nascent soul immortal, if there was nothing amiss, she was unlikely to experience such sudden palpitations for no reason. What's going on? Yun Wanshang's eyebrows furrowed slightly, checking on herself without finding the source. She closed her eyes again and went back into meditation to regulate herself. Several hours later, Yun Wanshang's eyes suddenly snapped open. In that instant, she felt another faint, inexplicable palpitation. Yet this palpitation was so faint, and she still could not locate its origin. Could someone be divining my situation? Yun Wanshang's eyes, clear as water, carried a chill, wondering if someone was scheming against her. But in the next moment, she dismissed the thought. If it were divination, there would typically be some kind of premonition, a sense of destiny. Such a faint and traceless fluctuation would be impossible to find unless a nascent soul true lord had expended a great cost to divine or deduce it. I want to see what's going on. Yun Wanshang formed a gesture incantation with her hands, her soul leaving her body, enveloping the entire hall, and locking onto her physical body, trying to pinpoint the source of this palpitation. Since this unknown palpitation had occurred twice, it suggested the possibility of a third time. She did not know how much time had passed, but finally, she sensed the palpitation once again. How is this possible? Yun Wanshang traced the source of the palpitation, her stunning face filled with surprise, disbelief, and shock. She had just realized that this palpitation was not coming from the outside, it originated from within herself. It came from her Tongyu Phoenix marrow body. But apart from producing a strand of spirit-nurturing energy during her core formation breakthrough, her Tongyu Phoenix marrow body had no other effects. If there were to be an effect, it would be that through the method of dual cultivation and using the Tongyu Phoenix marrow body, one could continually nourish spirit-nurturing energy, thus growing stronger. What's going on? Yun Wanshang's brows were deeply furrowed, her mind full of doubts. She did not understand why her spiritual body would feel such a mysterious palpitation in that instant. Could it be, as if she had thought of something, her divine sense suddenly turned towards the midpoint of Kaiyun Peak, to Mingyue residence where Xiao Xie resided. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 913, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved. Yun Wanshang's divine sense arrived at Mingyue residence. Although each cave mansion was protected by a barrier and prohibitions, which ordinary people could not enter, as the master of Kaiyun Peak, a nascent soul immortal, such simple barriers and prohibitions naturally could not block her divine sense. Instantly, a scene flashed before her eyes, sending tremors through her heart. The green robe and the moon-white dress lay tossed about carelessly on the floor, wordlessly recounting what had transpired here before. On the bed, a man with a well-built, smooth-lined body, radiating beauty, was closely intertwined with a perfect, mutton-fat jade-like moonlight treasure body. Above them, there seemed to be a sun and moon rotating, casting reflections upon their skin, creating a scene which, although somewhat indecorous, appeared stunningly beautiful, like a magnificent painting. Indeed, it's the sun-moon samsara technique. Seeing this, Yun Wanshang felt a sudden jolt in her heart, realizing the fluttering of her spiritual body was caused by the sun-moon samsara technique. Why is this happening? For the moment, she did not understand why Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xie's practice of the sun-moon samsara technique would cause her spiritual body to quiver. Could it be because of the spirit-nurturing energy? Yun Wanshang's brows furrowed slightly, guessing in her mind. Even as a nascent soul immortal, she did not know why their practice would affect her. But apart from the spirit-nurturing energy, she could think of no other reason. Shiyu, at this moment, Kaiyun True Immortal noticed her disciple, Xiao Shiyu, and her expression softened in surprise. Although Xiao Shiyu was never cold or emotionless when facing her as a master, she had never seen her disciple quite like this. Her exquisitely beautiful face was flushed with a bashful and timid allure. Her usually cool and indifferent eyes now held a tantalizing charm, like a plum blossom in the bitter cold of early spring, delicate and striking. Her black and lustrous hair was casually disheveled, with strands languidly falling across her full, rounded bosom. Her flawless jade body, under the glow of the sun-moon treasure wheel, glistened with sweat that rolled off like moonbeams, unspeakably beautiful. She must have just finished dual cultivation as her long, straight, elegantly curved legs were tense and trembling, causing her delicate and beautiful feet to continuously curl and stretch out, adorably resembling silkworms. So this is what it's like to feel passion. Inside the hall, Yun Wanshang, clad in a luxurious colorful palace dress, exuded a demeanor that combined 3 parts elegance with 3 parts chilly authority. Yet in her heart, she couldn't help but think of when she and Lu Changxing had extinguished the red phoenix karma fire. Was she also enticingly charming like this? She had always been in control, so certainly she would not have been like Shiyu. What was she even thinking about? Her initial plight was suffering from the karma fire, completely irrelevant to such matters. Phew. Yun Wanshang immediately retracted her divine sense, dispelling the thoughts in her mind and exhaling a long breath. But in this moment, she felt a faint warmth spreading throughout her body. It's been so long, and she still hasn't gone to the Luoyun mountain range. Yun Wanshang's beautiful eyes resembled water, and her stunning face cooled down as she spoke out loud. Immediately afterwards, she sent a message to notify the hall steward to make his way to Mingyue residence. If Xiao Shiyu had not yet set off for the Luoyun mountain range, she was to proceed there immediately, without further delay. Mingyue residence. In a simple and elegant room. It's all your fault, Xiao Shiyu, upon hearing from her maid Livlaya that the peak steward had come to urge her to set off for the Luoyun mountain range, immediately blushed and looked reproachfully at Lu Changsheng. She had planned to depart for the Luoyun mountain range after completing 2 rounds of dual cultivation. After all, the dual cultivation method of the sun-moon samsara technique is not like those of the demon path or heretical path, which employed the energy drain technique. It values nature and moderation in all things. Continuous dual cultivation offers no benefit, it can even hinder progress in cultivation. But Lu Changxing had insisted this was a cultivation technique given by her master, and they should wholeheartedly practice and comprehend it. Otherwise, once in the Luoyun mountain range, separated by thousands of miles, it would not be easy for them to meet. Facing his persuasive words, Xiao Shiyu naturally followed Lu Changxing. After all, she was aware of the circumstances of the secret realm in the Luoyun mountain range. Once she left, she would have no time to return to see Lu Changxing and their daughter for a while. My fault, I lose track of time when I'm with you, Shiyu. Lu Changxing immediately responded with an apologetic smile, also feeling somewhat embarrassed. After all, his arrival to ask for marriage had already displeased Kaiyun True Immortal. Now having spent so much time in Kaiyun Peak, Kaiyun True Immortal must have guessed what the two of them were doing in Mingyue residence. It was indeed fortunate that she had not troubled him. After tidying up their clothes, they shared a brief moment of tenderness before departing Kaiyun Peak and the Qinyan sect. On a normal day, Xiao Shiyu would have gone to her master to bid farewell. But considering her actions, she felt too ashamed to meet her master. Shiyu, don't worry, they'll bring Wang Shu along to see you in the Luoyun mountain range when the time comes. Outside the gates of Qinyan sect, Lu Changxing gently bade farewell to Xiao Shiyu. Although it would be difficult for Xiao Shiyu to find time to return from the Luoyun mountain range, he could visit her there. Moreover, their daughter had come of age and could be taken out to gain some experience. Okay. Xiao Shiyu nodded softly in agreement. Shiyu, if you encounter danger in the secret realm, your life comes first, don't worry about wasting the talismans I gave you. If you have problems, you can write to me as well. Lu Changxing continued to advise. He was not worried about anything else, just that Xiao Shiyu might face danger in the secret realm. I understand, Changxing, don't worry. Xiao Shiyu responded softly. Having said their goodbyes, they each took to their flying artifacts and flew off in different directions. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 914, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved. That Mountain Lord Lu and Uncle Master Xiao seem quite extraordinary. Yeah, it's been about a month since Lu Changxing came to our Qinyan sect, hasn't it? Has he been staying at Kaiyun Peak all this time? Hiss, shocking, Master of Bihu Mountain, Lu Changxing, actually spent the night with Fairy Shiyu at Kaiyun Peak. Fairy Shiyu is pure as ice and as clean as jade, how could she possibly have any involvement with such a libertine? I've heard Lu Changxing is a second-order top-level talisman master as well as an alchemist, and he has an old acquaintance with senior sister Xiao, probably invited to make talismans and alchemy. That's right, I heard that senior sister Shiyu is exploring the secrets of the Luoyun mountain range, in need of many elixir medicines and talismans. Inside Qinyan sect, because Lu Changxing had stayed so long at Kaiyun Peak, it sparked a bit of speculation. To such speculations, neither Lu Changxing nor Xiao Shiyu paid much attention, not taking it to heart. After all, their situations were much richer than what these people could imagine or guess. After returning to Bihu Mountain, Lu Changxing resumed his daily leisurely life. Every day, he would sit in meditation, make talismans, spend time with his wives under the flowers and moon, and teach his children. Considering the profound effects of the sun-moon samsara technique, which could aid in cultivation and breakthroughs, Kaiyun True Immortal hadn't instructed to keep the technique a secret, so after contemplating, Lu Changxing decided to teach it to Lu Miaoge, Ling Zixiao, and Bai Ling. After all, prolonged cultivation of this technique would benefit Lu Miaoge, Ling Zixiao, and Bai Ling greatly. As for Kaiyun True Immortal, considering his relationship with Xiao Shiyu, they were practically family. He would just have to look for a chance to properly express his gratitude and repay the favor in the future. Ling Zixiao and Lu Miaoge's situation was similar to that of Xiao Shiyu. It was difficult for them to cultivate this technique and required the guidance of Lu Changxing. However, Bai Ling showed an exceptional talent in this area and her cultivation process was very much in harmony with Lu Changxing's. This made Lu Changxing secretly wonder if teaching by Ling the Black Dragon Codex was a mistake. At this time, Lu Changxing considered his talent in dual cultivation techniques and decided to take a technique from Hong Lian to try and comprehend for cultivation. After trying for a long time, Lu Changxing confirmed his talent for yin and yang dual cultivation techniques. Could it be that my talent lies in dual cultivation techniques? Or is the effect related to the flawless heavenly fragrance body? He frowned slightly, pondering in his mind. He suspected he might indeed have a natural talent for yin and yang dual cultivation. It could also be related to the flawless heavenly fragrance body. After all, apart from these two reasons, he couldn't think of any other explanation. If this spiritual body is really related to dual cultivation, Nangong Mili wouldn't let her daughter take the wrong path, would she? Lu Changxing paused sharply, suddenly thinking. Although the righteous path does have yin and yang dual cultivation techniques like the sun-moon samsara technique, such techniques are absolutely not as common in the demonic path as they are in the righteous path. The dual cultivation of the demonic path doesn't care for the shared feelings or similar cultivation levels benefiting both parties, like the sun-moon samsara technique does. It's simply two words: absorption. To harm others in order to strengthen oneself. Compared to the righteous dual cultivation, the demonic path's dual cultivation absorption technique is a lot more straightforward and brutal. Although such a technique could lead to hollow and weak mana foundations, instability of mind, and vulnerability to entering a demonic state, and make the heavenly tribulation and heart demon tribulation during nascent soul more difficult than for the righteous cultivator, it definitely is a good choice for cultivators with poor talents who only seek chi refinement and foundation establishment, or those cultivators who are suited for a dual cultivation physique. Although Nangong Mili is a practitioner of the demonic path, she surely cannot be that mindless. Besides, with Yao Yao's second-grade spiritual root and exceptional talent, she has the potential to achieve core formation in the future, so why resort to such deviant and crooked methods? Lu Changxing shook his head. He felt that Nangong Mili, despite being a demonic path cultivator, wouldn't go to such lengths. But this still made him more concerned about his daughter, who was far away in Jin Kingdom. Because such physiques not only benefited her own cultivation but also made her suitable as a dual cultivation cauldron. And there were rumors that many demonic path cultivators liked to cultivate cauldrons, human pills, for their breakthroughs. With nascent soul immortal Nangong Mili there probably won't be any problems. But among nascent soul cultivators, Nangong Mili's combat strength seems quite ordinary. If possible, it would still be best to bring Yao Yao to Jiang country sooner rather than later. It's definitely much safer. Lu Changxing murmured to himself, letting out a long sigh. His concern about his daughter's situation was not only worry, there was also some guilt. Although this daughter was an accident, he couldn't deny his anticipation for her birth at the time. After all, the higher the cultivation of the parents, the better the spiritual root talent of the child they conceive. He had coveted the spiritual root talent of the child that Nangong Mili would give birth to. But now, so many years after the child was born, he had never seen her as a father. If his daughter were to encounter any accidents in the Five Poisons cult, or suffer any mishaps in her growth, he wouldn't know how to face it. Core formation: I need to achieve core formation quickly. After core formation, I can go to Jin Kingdom's Five Poisons cult to see if I can bring Yao Yao home. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and let it out, feeling a sense of urgency in his heart. He immediately got up and went to Changxing Hall, picking up Bai Ling, who was wearing a flowing white fairy skirt, with a pure and beautiful face and an enchanting figure, and holding her in his arms, he began to cultivate with great effort. The night fell. A young man with a well-proportioned and robust look, broad-chested and upright, tall in stature, and looking like a wanderer from the Jianghu, rode a tall horse through the desolate countryside. He saw an old temple in the distance and briskly rode his horse there. The temple was overgrown and filled with cobwebs, looking somewhat unsettling. But the young man skillfully lit a bonfire and took out a large chunk of demon beast meat from his storage bag to roast. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 915, Yun Wanshang, so this is what it looks like to be moved. Tomorrow, after another day on the road, we should arrive at U-Town. Lu Pingan took out a bundle of wanted posters and examined them briefly. Over the years, he had traveled abroad but had not ventured into mountainous battles nor explored ancient cave mansions. Simply traveling at his own pace, whenever he heard of demons causing trouble somewhere, he would go and take a look. Along the way, he picked up various bounties to eliminate evildoers, parasitic cultivators, and the like. After more than 2 years, he had traveled thousands of miles to reach Qingyun Market. According to his plan, his next trip was to Zhoushiao Immortal City. However, the iron feather eagle provided by his family had been slain by a robber cultivator along the way, forcing him to abandon the idea of going to Zhoushiao Immortal City. He planned to consider traveling to Zhoushiao Immortal City only after he broke through to the energy refinement late stage. After all, this trip had also exposed him to the various dangers of the cultivation world. It was not as simple as the time he and Qin Yi traveled in the secular cultivation world. "Little un, it's time to eat." At this moment, Lu Pingan took out a wooden carving and spoke out loud. A wind stirred, and a pale-faced, handsome, insubstantial boy around 5 or 6 years old appeared from the black wooden carving. This was a ghost slave. Lu Pingan had obtained it when he took on a bounty and slew a parasitic cultivator. It was not really considered a gain. Simply put, after he slew the parasitic cultivator, he saw this little ghost looking dazed. Thinking about the pitiful lives people had before being turned into ghost slaves, especially since the other party had been transformed at such a young age, he decided not to kill it but rather set it free. But the little ghost would not leave, seemingly clinging to him. Faced with this situation, Lu Pingan was helpless. Knowing that the ghost would not survive if set free, he decided to keep it with him. Since the little ghost could not speak, he named it Littleun, using "an" from his own name, Pingan. Littleun shyly and obediently looked at Lu Pingan. "Eat up, I'm starting my meal too." Lu Pingan eyed the Littleun in front of him, pretended to pat its head with his palm, then voraciously ate the demon beast meat he was holding. Upon hearing this, Littleun moved closer, hugged Lu Pingan's neck, and gently drew his yang energy. There were many methods for feeding ghosts in the cultivation world. But Lu Pingan did not understand those methods, nor would he learn such destructive and unethical techniques. Thus, knowing that the little ghost survived by drawing yang energy, he used his own qi and spiritual power to nourish Littleun. His martial path was exceptional, and because he practiced the 100 Refinements treasure body art, his qi blood was healthy, and it didn't affect him to have Littleun draw a little. He could recover after just a sleep. Over the year of nourishing him, Littleun had changed from its original dazed state, gaining a bit of spirituality. It could understand everything Lu Pingan said. Even when spending the night outdoors, it could help keep watch or scout the surroundings for any spirit grass, spiritual medicine, or spiritual treasures. After absorbing a couple of mouthfuls of qi blood to maintain its form, Littleun quietly lay on Lu Pingan's shoulder, watching him feast without showing any fierce or ghostly aura. Littleun. Just then, Lu Pingan seemed to hear a noise and spoke towards Littleun. Having been together so long, no extra words were needed. Littleun understood what he meant. It immediately transformed into a wind and returned into the wooden carving in Lu Pingan's hand. This carving was an expensive purchase by Lu Pingan, costing 33 spirit stones at a gathering of loose cultivators. Carved from the heart of a century-old Sephora tree, it could house souls. Though it pained him for a long time, Littleun seemed to like the carving very much. In a moment. Creak. The door of the dilapidated temple was pushed open. A woman dressed in an emerald palace gown with a voluptuous and slender figure entered, holding a baby. Young hero. Seeing Lu Pingan by the fire, the woman quickly bowed in greeting. "My name is Qi, on my way back home to visit relatives when I encountered thugs along the way. Thankfully, I escaped here with the help of my family's guards. I wonder if you could lend a hand and help us, mother and son. If you could lend a hand, I will certainly remember your great kindness." Her charming face, rushed expression, doe-eyed look seeming to emanate tenderness with her large expanse of pale skin at the shoulders and the neckline revealing a fair bit of skin proved to be quite enticing. Lu Pingan, upon hearing this, looked deeply at the woman and the child she held, and spoke, "Madam, you may rest here for now. Should there truly be villains, I will do my utmost to ensure your safety." "Thank you, young hero." The woman immediately expressed her gratitude and came over, taking a seat by Lu Pingan's fire quite naturally. A strong scent wafted through the air, causing Lu Pingan to slightly shift backward and focus his gaze on the roasted meat in his hand. Because he was much taller than she, from this angle he could instantly see the fair skin inside her neckline. "I wonder how your martial skills are, young hero. That group of thugs are extremely skilled and vicious," the woman continued speaking. "Not bad," Lu Pingan said in a low voice, handing over a piece of dry food to her. "Thank you, young hero." The woman thanked him, accepting the dry food but not eating. Instead, she kept initiating conversation with Lu Pingan, seemingly very uneasy, using this method to find some relief. Bang! Just then, the temple door was suddenly kicked open with great force. Outside, under the night sky, suddenly appeared over a dozen tall and agile figures dressed in black nightclothes, wielding fine steel knives. Their faces were covered, only their eyes visible. "We've found them here, attack!" The men in black, upon seeing the woman and Lu Pingan inside the temple, immediately spoke out coldly. "It's not too late to leave now, Wuxia World. Sight. Co. Chapter 9:16, Yun Wanshang. "So this is what being moved looks like." _4 Lu Pingan suddenly arose and faced the black-clad men, his tall and imposing stature seemingly enveloping the surroundings with an invisible pressure. Kill. Despite a moment of hesitation, the black-clad men mustered their courage and charged at the woman and Lu Pingan. Ha! Lu Pingan bellowed, his voice full of vigor, as he shot forward at an unbelievably fast speed. The moment his fist swung, it seemed as though it struck at all the black-clad men simultaneously. Instantly, it seemed as though a huge dragon had trampled toward them, rendering the men feeling isolated and helpless, overwhelmed by the unstoppable force. Bang bang bang, dash, bang bang bang. In just a moment, the span of a breath, everyone on the field had received a punch from Lu Pingan, sending them flying backward or retreating, their bodies convulsing and their faces pale. "You still have time to retreat now." Lu Pingan looked at the black-clad men. He did not pursue them to their deaths but continued to speak. He could tell that these people's intent to kill the woman was even less than his own. These men must have been instructed to kill him, yet they still didn't know his circumstances. Clap clap clap, dash, suddenly, applause broke out. 6 figures then emerged from the darkness. They were a mix of men and women, both old and young. One of the elderly men praised Lu Pingan, as expected of the recent notable bounty hunter, "Martial God Lu Pingan, your strength is indeed impressive." Martial God Lu Pingan? On hearing this title, Lu Pingan raised his eyebrows slightly and showed a trace of amusement. He didn't expect that by taking on bounties under a new name, he would acquire such a nickname. But it sounded quite appealing. He realized that the 6 people before him were cultivators and spoke calmly. "I should have no grievances with you, right? Indeed, we bear no grudges, but we cultivators with no hope in cultivation have come to the secular world only seeking a life of prosperity and comfort. You aim to annihilate us completely, breaking the rules. If we don't eliminate you, how can we be at peace?" One of the men in black robes spoke coldly. "There are many parasitic and heretic cultivators in the secular world. As long as they don't overdo it, the imperial court turns a blind eye to them. After all, dealing with them all is very troublesome and there are simply not enough hands." But lately, Lu Pingan had been issuing bounties and consecutively killing many parasitic cultivators in the secular world. This made them perturbed, and they eventually decided to take the initiative to attack Lu Pingan. Cultivators should not interfere in secular matters, and if you had come here merely to enjoy prosperity, I wouldn't bother you. For committing unbearable atrocities, even without my involvement, someone else would have surely come after you, Lu Pingan said solemnly, his tall figure clad in a blue robe. As he spoke, a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at them. Before, those black-clad men were just secular mortals, martial arts experts, hence he had not been ruthless. But with these parasitic cultivators, he would show no mercy. Lu Pingan, since you've gained an immortal fate and stepped onto the path of immortality, why bother with these muddy waters? You must know, the cultivation world is hardly a place for performing heroic deeds. A pretty young girl in red said, her voice hoarse and her hands as aged as tree bark, clearly maintaining her youth through some technique. Why waste words with him? An old woman spoke and then, looking greedily at Lu Pingan, she said, today, forcing so many of us to act against you, even if you die, you can be proud. As she spoke, she slammed her cane on the ground, causing it to shatter and creating shards of earth that shot towards Lu Pingan. However, in that very moment, Lu Pingan had already moved, his physical body radiated a divine light, tearing through the air like a predatory animal, and when he stepped down, a crater formed on the ground. Entangling technique. Golden light technique. Flame bullet technique. Earth spike technique. Although these cultivators were all at the 6th level or 7th level of energy refinement, they only knew some basic techniques. Facing the attacking Lu Pingan, they simultaneously cast their techniques and wielded their magic artifacts. Boom! Lu Pingan's fist was momentarily blocked by the golden light technique. But his fist seemed to burst with purple gold true chi, shattering that layer of golden light directly. PFF. The old man who cast the golden light technique stumbled, spitting blood and his face pale and drained. What strong power! Seeing this, everyone's face turned grim, realizing Lu Pingan's strength was even greater than they had imagined. Unable to understand why someone of his age and power would waste time wandering the secular world when he clearly had a promising future. They felt their prospects were hopeless. But for someone like Lu Pingan, his potential was clearly vast. Crack. Just then, a man in a black robe brandished a small knife, striking towards a vital spot on Lu Pingan's back. Lu Pingan's robe was instantly torn, revealing an armored magic artifact underneath. But around him was a dense, invisible true chi acting as a barrier. In addition to dual cultivation of magical and physical techniques, he was also at the pinnacle of the martial path. His innate true chi was like gang chi, powerful enough to slay a mid-stage energy refinement cultivator. Bang bang bang, dash, Lu Pingan, like a god of war, blazed in divine light, and even facing 6 opponents, he remained unyielding. Everyone, attack! These 6 did not dare to engage Lu Pingan in close combat, so they kept their distance, ordering the black-clad men to attack him, continuing to deploy various techniques. Under heavy reward, there must be brave men. These black-clad men had come for the chance of an immortal fate and, hearing this command, did not hesitate. But to face Lu Pingan was to embrace death, their bodies blown away with each of his punches. Even though Lu Pingan was holding back slightly, otherwise a single punch would have completely shattered them. Seeing their fearless charge, Lu Pingan no longer held back. His punches thundered out, turning them into a mist of blood. Wuxia World. Sight. Co. Chapter 917, Yun Wanshang. So this is what it looks like to be moved _5, Savior. Help. Just then, the woman holding the baby cried out to Lu Pingan in terror. Faced with this, Lu Pingan didn't pay any heed. He had been called simple-minded by his father, mother, and even Qin Yi, but he wasn't actually foolish. How could he fail to see that there was something wrong with this woman? It's just that he felt some pity for her, seeing her with a child in her arms, so he didn't make a big issue of it. At this moment, witnessing the gang of 6 attacking, he naturally knew the woman was in cahoots with these assailants. Wah! At that moment, the baby in the woman's arms burst into loud cries. Lu Pingan, slightly distracted by the crying, glanced at the woman. He saw her about to strike the baby with her palm. At this sight, he immediately extended his hand, conjuring an invisible giant hand from spiritual power, intending to snatch the baby from the woman's grasp. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Seeing this, the other 6 attackers seized the opportunity and immediately directed their techniques at both Lu Pingan and the baby. Boom boom boom, a spiritual energy shield formed around Lu Pingan, protecting both him and the baby, as he quickly deployed a golden bell shield talisman. But the assault from so many techniques made the golden bell around him dim considerably. This kid even has a superior grade talisman. Hurry up and attack, don't give him a chance to breathe. At this point, don't hold back. If he has any more tricks up his sleeve, we might all end up dead here. The 6 parasitic cultivators, seeing the situation, all changed their expressions and shouted aloud together. At this moment, they didn't dare to hold back, for fear Lu Pingan had more tricks up his sleeve. At this time, the little ghost, inside the wooden carving in Lu Pingan's arms, appeared, screaming sharply, wanting to help him fight back. Go back. Lu Pingan immediately said. Little An was just an ordinary ghost. If hit by a technique, she would likely become unstable and be destroyed. Little An continued to scream, moving to attack the baby in Lu Pingan's arms. The baby in his arms suddenly let out a piercing cry, making Lu Pingan feel his mental spirit falter. Then, the baby's fair skin rapidly turned blue-black and fierce, lunging at Lu Pingan. Little An immediately tightly grasped the ghost infant to keep it from attacking Lu Pingan. Boom boom boom. Simultaneously, a barrage of techniques bombarded Lu Pingan, shattering his golden light barrier talisman. He was flung sideways, emitting a muffled groan. Good, Mrs. Chi's plan is indeed brilliant. The 6 onlookers, all delighted by the scene, continued their assault on Lu Pingan. They had investigated and analyzed why they should move against Lu Pingan. They knew the weaknesses of such a young man, who was full of righteousness and liked to act heroically. Damn! Lu Pingan hadn't expected the baby to be a ghost infant, leading to his downfall. At this moment, he saw the previously frail and pitiable woman in the distance, her demeanor completely transformed, her hands forming gesture incantations, casting techniques. Obviously, she was no mortal, but a cultivator. She had simply concealed her cultivation base aura somehow. Lu Pingan had no time to think further and hurriedly brought out a small magic artifact shield to position in front of him. Then, his body surged with blood energy as he reached toward the ghost infant. With one grasp, he crushed it, dispersing its soul, and shouted to Little An, "Go back, An." Hearing this, Little An didn't dare to disobey and immediately retreated into the wooden carving. Bang bang bang, however, in an instant, another volley of techniques came at him. Escape. Lu Pingan used the small shield to block the offensive, but being at the 6th level of energy refinement, he still couldn't help but feel his blood energy churn as he faced such onslaught. He didn't continue to stand his ground and instead blasted through the dilapidated temple like a human cannonball, fleeing outside. As the saying goes, one can hardly stand up against multiple foes. One-on-one, he could have easily taken any of them down. But facing the 7 of them attacking together proved too much for him. Moreover, the 13 talismans his father had given him had largely been used up in the previous escape, leaving him with only a few. Chase him. He's been poisoned by me and won't get far. Mrs. Chi, who had previously held the baby, said coldly, dashing in the direction Lu Pingan had fled. At this time, she seemed like a different person entirely, with a gloomy and cold expression on her face. We absolutely can't let him escape. This man is not only exceptionally skilled in martial path body refinement but also possesses superior grade talismans and at least 3 magic artifacts. The other 6, realizing this, continuously formed gesture incantations, casting techniques, chasing after Lu Pingan. After all, Lu Pingan's capabilities represented an opportunity for them. Not good, I've been poisoned. After running for a while, Lu Pingan felt something was wrong, realizing he had been poisoned. He had always been knowledgeable about poisons and his cultivation technique had some resistance to them. But his opponents had come prepared, or more specifically, they had targeted him, leaving him caught off guard. Alas, it's just like my parents said, my nature will lead to trouble sooner or later. But I just can't change. A bitter smile appeared on Lu Pingan's face. Not daring to delay, he took out his last escape talisman for escaping. Buzz, as the talisman in his hand activated and burned, Lu Pingan was enveloped by it, transforming into a divine rainbow shooting forth. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 9:18. Could this child be the descendant of a nascent soul true lord? Under the night sky, in the desolate outskirts. Bang! Lu Pingan emerged from the ground with the help of an escape talisman, looking around to assess the situation. After a quick observation, he took out a detoxification pill from his storage bag and swallowed it. Then, with a whoosh, he ran towards the dense forest beside him. Although the escape talisman had the effect of concealing his form, this group of pursuers clearly came prepared and might have some means to track him. Therefore, he needed to find a safe place to expel the poison and heal. Sizzle. Sizzle. Even though he was poisoned and his body was gradually feeling numb and burning, Lu Pingan's running speed was still very fast. Like a cheetah, he sprinted, leaving only afterimages and tearing through the air, creating a long stream of energy that stirred up sounds like cascading river water in the quiet forest. Roar. 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 Screech. 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 The noises Lu Pingan made awakened the bird calls and the cries of beasts in the forest. But even if tigers and leopards appeared in front of him, he would either send them flying with a collision or casually shatter them. Sizzle. Sizzle. After roughly running 100 miles, Lu Pingan saw a cliff in front of him. Immediately, he summoned his flying sword and controlled the artifact to enter the woods below, continuing to run for a long time. Feeling the poison spreading in his body and starting to affect him, only then did he stop to find a place to start the detoxification and healing process. Swoosh. At the same time, a mass of dark chi burst forth. It was the ghost slave Shaoan from a wooden carving he carried. Shaoan looked at Lu Pingan with caring eyes shining in his dark pupils. Shaoan, I'll have to trouble you to keep watch for me, Lu Pingan said with a grin. His face was pale and tired, and his forehead was covered with sweat beads, showing he had expended a lot of energy. Shaoan nodded, his pale and delicate face taking on a serious expression, then floated next to Lu Pingan, watching over the surroundings. Lu Pingan took out another detoxification pill to swallow and sat cross-legged to circulate the purple true solar scripture for detoxification and healing. A while later. What kind of poison is this? It's as tenacious as a bone-attaching sore, Lu Pingan frowned, realizing that the poison was not simple and was difficult to dispel, much like a bone-attaching sore. Even as he channeled his energies, the poison eroded his spiritual power and spread faster. Unbeknownst to him, this poison was none other than the unique poison elixir corpse soul fragrance, concocted by Lady Qi. Ordinary energy refining cultivators poisoned by it would soon become rigid and limp, and then their flesh would wither and decay. Additionally, the poison would use the cultivator's spiritual power as nourishment, causing it to spread and propagate. Due to Lu Pingan's exceptional achievements on the martial path and having reached the third layer of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he was still unaffected. It was only after undergoing a battle and running hundreds of miles that he felt the poison gradually taking its toll. This situation was incredibly astonishing. 100 Refinements treasure body art. Lu Pingan's face tensed with concentration as he circulated the 100 Refinements treasure body technique, maneuvering his blood and chi while his body shone with the treasure light, attempting to expel the poison. Realizing the poison was difficult to expel, he thought of his 100 Refinements treasure body technique's poison resistance, which rendered ordinary poisons ineffective against him. He immediately attempted to refine and dissipate the spreading poison with the 100 Refinements treasure body technique. Just as I thought. A moment later, a hint of joy appeared in Lu Pingan's eyes. Refining the poison, however, left his body somewhat stiff and powerless, needing some time to recover. If I were to refine all of the poison, I'd probably be weakened for several days, Lu Pingan mused. But I can't let this poison linger any longer. After some thought, he did not hesitate to fully activate the 100 Refinements treasure body art to refine the poison. Time passed slowly. Daylight gradually crept across the sky. Lu Pingan opened his eyes and said to Shaoan beside him, "Shaoan, come back." For a ghost like Shaoan, encountering the fierce sunlight could destabilize his soul and prevent him from appearing during the day. So, during the day he would keep him inside the wooden carving, not letting him out. "I'm all right." Seeing the hint of worry on Shaoan's face, he spoke with an easygoing expression. Hearing this, Shaoan turned into a puff of black chi and went back into the wooden carving. "Ugh, I feel sore all over, this really isn't a pleasant sensation." Lu Pingan looked up at the sky, stretched his limbs as he got up, and murmured as he looked towards the cliff, "I wonder if they've stopped chasing me." Energy refining cultivators may have plenty of tracking methods. But beyond 100 miles, it becomes very difficult to find someone. And considering he ran straight for hundreds of miles, any chances of being followed at the end were minuscule. Moreover, these were loose cultivators who could not make it in the cultivation world, so even if they had some means, they wouldn't get very far. If I had decided to fight quickly from the start, they wouldn't have stood a chance against me. Lu Pingan took a piece of demon beast meat from his storage bag, ate as he replayed the last night's battle in his mind. He knew that if he had not been soft-hearted and caught in an ambush, ending in a disadvantageous situation, he could have easily defeated them one by one. Sigh. He laughed helplessly, without any regret, taking it as a lesson learned to be more cautious in the future. After eating and drinking his fill, he continued to cultivate to expel the poison and heal his injuries. Unknown time passed. Roar. Lu Pingan heard a roar accompanied by a stench that wafted through the air. A demon beast. Lu Pingan's eyes snapped open as he realized the situation was dire. He knew this was not a wild animal but a demon beast. He was currently stiff and weak, dealing with ordinary wild animals was no problem. But a demon beast could pose a danger. "Let's go." Lu Pingan did not hesitate. He immediately sealed his pores, concealed his breath, and silently flew away. After a long while, realizing he had left the activity range of the demon beast, he breathed a sigh of relief and found a place to continue healing. Quack, quack. Later, Lu Pingan heard some rustling and a clear female voice. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 919. Could this child be the descendant of a nascent soul true lord? Lu Pingan immediately assumed an alert expression. At such depths of the great mountain, where demon beasts left their trails, how could a person possibly appear? And judging by the girl's voice, she couldn't be more than in her teens. Thus, he immediately took caution, held his breath, crouched down, and used the bushes for cover to minimize any noise he might make. Swish, swish, swish. Before long, he saw a several-inch-long black centipede wriggling through the sand like a fish, coming into view before him. The sight of Lu Pingan prompted wisps of blood-evil energy to emanate from the centipede. This is bad. Lu Pingan promptly raised his hand intending to slap the centipede to death. However, the centipede turned out to be as hard as metal, incredibly tough, and even bit him on the palm. The pain had barely started when Lu Pingan felt his entire body stiffen and weaken, unable to move. The corpse soul sense suppressed within him began to agitate. He realized that this was no ordinary centipede but likely some poisonous insect of a demon beast. Gurgle, gurgle. Not far away, a fist-sized vermilion toad heard the commotion and immediately leaped towards them. Seeing this, the black centipede made a swish sound and directly burrowed into Lu Pingan's mouth. Even though Lu Pingan had seen much in his life, this situation was a first for him, and a look of terror couldn't help but appear in his eyes. However, what made his skin crawl even more happened next. The red vermilion toad actually hopped onto his face and began burrowing into his mouth, seemingly chasing after the black centipede. This scenario made Lu Pingan, paralyzed and powerless, break out in goosebumps, desperately wanting to struggle but unable to move. Gurgle, gurgle. Immediately, a sharp pain racked his abdomen. He tried to activate his cultivation technique to force out the two poisonous creatures, but his techniques hardly functioned. Quack. Just then, a girl about 13 or 14 years old, dressed in a pale red dress, with curved eyebrows and a lively, adorable face, ran over in haste. She looked at the vermilion toad that had burrowed into Lu Pingan's mouth and asked with a panicked and worried expression, "Big brother, are you okay?" I'm sorry, little Kwa, please come out." The girl apologized to Lu Pingan and continued to call into his mouth. However, the vermilion toad inside Lu Pingan did not respond at all, fighting with the ironback centipede. Faced with this situation, Lu Pingan's pale face turned purple and red, changing color as he felt extreme pain throughout his body and his consciousness grew duller and hazier, gradually blurring. "I can't pass out." Lu Pingan knew he absolutely couldn't faint and continued to exert all his effort into activating his cultivation technique. But the pain in his body made his consciousness fainter and fainter as if entering a dark abyss. Just then, a tremor surged through his body as if a cluster of faint starlight emerged before his eyes. "Granny! Granny!" Seeing Lu Pingan seemingly about to faint, tears welled up in the girl's eyes as she called out loudly. She took out a crystal stone and crushed it in her hand. In no time, a rainbow light shot from the sky, transforming into an elderly woman with white hair, an aged face yet a spry spirit, wielding a snake-shaped staff. The old woman looked at the girl and asked with concern, "Miss, what happened?" "Granny, little Kwa was chasing an ironback centipede, which then burrowed into this big brother's mouth, and little Kwa followed it in," the girl said urgently upon seeing the old woman. "What?" Hearing this, the old woman looked toward the delirious Lu Pingan, murderous intent flashing in her eyes. "Granny, please save him." The tearful girl pitifully pleaded with the old woman. "Miss, the cinnabar toad itself is extremely poisonous, and once it enters the body, this man is undoubtedly doomed to die, not to mention the presence of an ironback centipede wreaking havoc on his organs. And we cannot reveal our presence while we are out here," the old woman said, her murderous intent receding and turning into a caring gaze. But, this big brother doesn't seem like a bad person." The girl lifted her head and said softly, "Miss, looks can be deceiving, and the heart inscrutable. This man's suddenly showing up here, and as a cultivator, clearly poses a problem," stated the old woman, her gaze toward Lu Pingan still laced with murderous intent. "Humph." At that moment, the starlight in Lu Pingan's consciousness grew brighter and brighter, prompting a grunt from him as a surge of strength flowed through his body, and his consciousness returned a bit. The 100 refinements treasure body art within him began to operate automatically. Boom! 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 As the 100 refinements treasure body art automatically functioned, the gigantic axe magical treasure he had condensed into his body seemed to be stimulated, its magical treasure's origin continuously flowing out, subduing both the centipedes and the vermilion toad, suppressing the poison and incorporating it into Lu Pingan's limbs and organs. What's going on here?" The old woman saw that Lu Pingan, under such circumstances, not only hadn't died but was gradually recovering, his body filled with a terrifying aura. "Big brother, are you all right?" Seeing this, the young girl called out to Lu Pingan with concern. Then, she turned to the old woman with a somewhat pleading look and said, "Granny, please save him. This is the aura of a magical treasure." How could there be the aura of a magical treasure within his body? The old woman stared at Lu Pingan, constantly sizing him up, her eyebrows tightly furrowed and her eyes filled with disbelief. Immediately, she placed a hand on Lu Pingan's shoulder to examine his condition. This boy is obviously only at the 6th level energy refinement stage. How can he have the aura of a magical treasure within him? There's definitely a problem, absolutely a problem. However, he doesn't seem like someone who's here to pursue the young lady. This child actually has a magical treasure sealed inside him. The old woman checked Lu Pingan's condition. When she saw the magical treasure's origin emerging continuously from Lu Pingan's chest, realizing that a magical treasure was sealed within him, she was shocked, feeling like a storm was raging in her heart. One must understand, this was a magical treasure. A magical treasure that only nascent soul cultivators could control. Although this magical treasure should be of low grade, at most a low-quality magical treasure. But to have a magical treasure sealed within the body of an energy-refining cultivator was astonishing. Such a feat definitely was the work of a great cultivator. This is a third-rank talisman. Not only is there a magical treasure sealed within, but also a third-rank talisman. Could this child be the descendant of some nascent soul true lord? The old woman then noticed a spirit talisman in Lu Pingan's sea of consciousness between his eyebrows, her heart churning like an overturned river. She didn't know what kind of spirit talisman it was. But through its form and aura, she could roughly identify it as a third-rank spirit talisman. It was likely one of the life-saving talismans. For a cultivator at the 6th level of energy refinement to not only have a magical treasure sealed within but also harbor a third-rank talisman was remarkable. The situation immediately made her feel like she was in a thorny dilemma and she dared not kill Lu Pingan. After all, with such people, who knew the existence behind them? If offended, it was highly likely to cause trouble. She had come all the way to Jiang country with the young girl to avoid strife, not wanting to get involved in right and wrong. The young miss is innocent by nature, and when she returns to her clan in the future, she will certainly face many obstacles and troubles. If this child really is the descendant of a true lord or perhaps a lucky individual with a great fate, it would be a good thing for the young miss to form a bond of goodwill with him. The old woman pondered continuously, the killing intent in her eyes gradually dissipating as she said to the young girl with a look of tenderness, "Don't worry, miss, I will save him now." As she spoke, mana flowed into Lu Pingan's body, intending to extract the weakened centipedes and vermilion toad. However, she watched as Lu Pingan's cultivation technique operated automatically, refining the ironback centipede and the vermilion toad, her expression stopping for a moment. She could see that it was the poison of these two creatures that had stimulated Lu Pingan's body, causing his cultivation technique to operate automatically and nourishing his physical body with the endlessly emerging magical treasure's origin. If she extracted the two creatures, his current state would cease. To nourish the body with a magical treasure is indeed a grand gesture. After pondering for a moment, the old woman decided to let Lu Pingan continue refining. After all, with his cultivation level, possessing such treasures, it was very likely that he was the direct disciple of some true person or true monarch out on a trial. Given that, she would go with the flow and give him an opportunity. This vermilion toad was her young miss pet, and if he refined it, it would also mean owing her young miss a favor. "Miss, I see that the little gua and the ironback centipede have formed a balance within him, elevating his cultivation level. If we interfere, we might kill him, but if we leave it be, the little gua will be refined." The old woman said this to the young girl. Her words were not only for the young miss to hear but also for Lu Pingan. The young girl felt conflicted and pained upon hearing this. Although she wanted to save someone, she also cherished her own pet. But after some hesitation, she still chose to save the person. Hearing this, the old woman couldn't help but sigh inwardly, feeling that her young miss was too kind-hearted. With such a kind nature, how would she survive in the world of cultivation? Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 920, True Immortal Level Technique, The First Drop of Myriad Spirits Heaven Dew. By Lake Mountain. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Lu Chongsheng, holding his daughter Lu Lingyi, allowed Mount Sumeru to plant various spirit flowers and spirit grasses according to his wishes. These spirit plants were gifts from Zhao Qingqing and were meant for ornamental purposes. Not only do they not consume spiritual energy, but they also purify it and freshen the air. There could be no better place for them than in the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Aha! Lu Lingyi exclaimed in surprise each time a plant was put in place. Lu Lingxiao, squatting on the ground, watched the scene quietly. However, once he saw a pure spirit flower being planted ahead, he immediately wobbled over to the flower, examining it carefully. "Daddy, flower." Seeing her brother's actions, the daughter in Lu Changsheng's arms immediately pointed at the pure spirit flower and exclaimed, indicating that she also wanted to go see the flower. Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly and promptly placed his daughter in front of the pure spirit flower. The little one tilted her head, looked at it a few times, then opened her mouth wide and ate a petal. "Silly thing, why do you put everything in your mouth?" Lu Changsheng was somewhat speechless and picked up his chubby daughter, urging her to let go. However, the little one refused to open her mouth and looked like she was about to cry with a pitiful face. "Come on, be good, if you're hungry drink this." Lu Changsheng took out a baby bottle from his storage bag and shook it in front of her. After chewing on the flower petal twice, Lu Lingyi decided it didn't taste good, and that the bottle's contents were much better. She finally let go of the petal and hugged the bottle, drinking contentedly. Seeing Lu Lingxiao sitting quietly beside him, Lu Changsheng also placed a baby bottle in his mouth. This baby bottle contains strengthen the essence and cultivate the origin spiritual liquid, carefully prepared by Master Lu himself. Not only does it strengthen the foundation and cultivate the origin, but it's also very suitable for human babies. The only drawback is that it costs more than double the price of elemental elixir, and babies can only absorb a limited amount of its medicinal effect. However, now that the family was better off and his children had good talents, he, as a father, naturally would do whatever possible to give his children a head start. The two little ones sat squatting on the ground, holding their bottles, their faces the picture of quiet contentment. Soon after, Mount Sumeru had completely arranged the cave heaven. Not bad, it finally looks a bit like a pure land. Once the spirit vein gets upgraded again, I can create a sun and moon environment and raise some spiritual pets. Lu Changsheng, stroking his chin, surveyed his small household while contemplating future plans. Just then, a surge of mana and robust vitality entered his body out of nowhere. 7th level energy refinement, this is the 4th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body art? It seems Pingan has also encountered some kind of fortunate adventure outside. Lu Changsheng had a rough idea about his children's cultivation progress. If it had been just the 7th level energy refinement, he wouldn't have been sure who it was, he would have to check the system. But a simultaneous breakthrough in both body refinement and energy refinement, and at this level, could only be his son, Lu Pingan. None of his daughters at home who practiced body refinement were at a level worth mentioning yet. Only Lu Pingan had made some progress with the 100 refinements treasure body art, having broken through to the 3rd layer last year. To now have broken through to the 4th layer within just a year definitely indicated he had gained some opportunities. Regarding this, Lu Changsheng was not overly concerned. After all, if there were no gains to be had from traveling outside, such journeys would be meaningless. After the two little ones were nearly done drinking, Lu Changsheng picked them up, walked out of the Mount Sumeru cave heaven, handed them over to a maid to coax into sleep, and then went to practice the sun-moon samsara technique with Lu Miaoge. It must have been due to the Tai Xing Shui Ju, as among Luo Miaoge, Xiao Xia, Ling Zixiao, and by Ling, Lu Miaoge had the best performance with the sun-moon samsara technique. Next was Xiao Xia. But the difference in effect between the two women was not large. This led Lu Changsheng to speculate that the reason for Lu Miaoge was the Tai Xing Shui Ju, and for Xiao Xia, it was the Tai moonlight she had integrated when he was condensing his Tao foundation. This not only manifested with the sun-moon samsara technique. The yin-yang energies of his own Tao foundation also nourished the four women differently. In this regard, Lu Changsheng was reminded of the nascent soul female cultivator who had battled with him fiercely for 3 days and nights years ago. Even though they had not met again after that battle, Lu Changsheng still remembered her vividly. After all, those 3 days and nights had left a deep impression on him. Of course, the main reason was the strand of spirit-nurturing energy she had bestowed on him. His 7 luminaries Tao foundation was able to transform into a yin-yang 5 elements foundation base mainly due to this strand of spirit-nurturing energy. Without it, Xiaoxia's Taiyin moonlight and the great sun essence of the golden crow elixir would not have been able to maintain balance, let alone cause his Tao foundation to transform. This made Lu Changxing speculate that if he were to engage in dual cultivation with her, the effects would undoubtedly be excellent. However, with such things, he just gave it a thought. Without breaking through core formation, there was no way he would contact her. Who knows what her attitude toward him would be or whether it would bring trouble. Mr. Lu always preferred to take the initiative rather than be passive. A month later. Baiyun Peak, Mingyue residence. Lu Changxing was instructing his daughter Lu Wangshu in the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Although the number of children at home was increasing, this little darling had always been very dear to him. Lu Wangshu, though usually playful and of average interest in cultivation, was still quite remarkable. With 7th level energy refinement and a first-grade high-quality talisman master. In body refinement, she had relied on talismans absorbed into her body to passively reach the 2nd level. At her age, such cultivation levels and skills were enough to be called a prodigy. Just at that moment, a powerful force of physical strength entered Lu Changsheng's body and integrated into his limbs and bones. Congratulations to the host, the first of your offspring has broken through to 2nd order body refining, earning you 1 high-level draw opportunity. HM. 2nd order body refining? What is this all about, Wuxia World? Site. Co. Chapter 921, True Immortal Level Technique, the first drop of myriad spirits heaven dew. Lu Changxing was startled when he heard this system notification, somewhat dumbfounded. Could it be that Pingan's 100 refinements treasure body art has broken through to the 5th layer? Lu Changsheng's expression cleared up slightly as he roughly guessed what had happened. 2nd order body refining corresponded to the 5th layer of the 100 refinements treasure body art. The problem was, a month ago, his son Lu Pingan had only broken through to the 4th layer. He could understand taking a year to break from the 3rd to the 4th layer. But 1 month to break from the 4th to the 5th layer was beyond his understanding. Although Lu Pingan was cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art and had condensed a magical treasure into his body, the breakthrough to the 5th layer was only a matter of time. Yet, this speed was indeed astonishing. It seems that Pingan has encountered no ordinary opportunity. Lu Changxing narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, very eager to know what was happening with his son Lu Pingan. However, what excited him most was that with Pingan's breakthrough in body refinement to the 2nd order, the system had even thrown in some child money for an advanced level draw. This was an unexpected delight. Does this mean if Chuanjin or Qing Shan broke through to foundation establishment, the system would probably do something similar with this kind of child money? Lu Changxing felt a little expectant. Daddy? Seeing her father suddenly fall into a trance, Lu Wangshu called out softly. I was just thinking about something. Let's continue. This spiritual pattern has 365 variations, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Daddy, if you have things to do, you can go ahead. We can always study next time. Lu Wangshu said, her face full of understanding and care. Hee, no matter how big the matter, it can't delay my precious daughter's studies, Lu Changxing, well aware of what his daughter was thinking, replied with a fatherly affection. Humph. Lu Wangshu snorted softly, wanting to say something, but Lu Changxing tapped her head, and she obediently watched the continuously transforming spiritual patterns in front of her. As time slowly passed, after teaching 3 runes, Lu Changxing stood up and left. Take care, Daddy. Lu Wangshu said cheerily. Heh. Lu Changxing shook his head and chuckled, feeling that if his daughter, innately talented and mentally gifted, would sincerely cultivate, she could have broken through the 6th level of energy refinement long ago. And possibly made further progress in the talisman path as well. However, considering his own inconsistent practices of cultivation, he had no grounds to preach to his daughter. It's not like he could say, I have a system, you don't, right? Then his daughter would surely wrap her arm around his, pouting adorably and saying, but I have you as my daddy, right? Back at the mountaintop of Baiyun Peak, Lu Changxing whispered inwardly, System. Name, Lu Pingan, Lifespan, 35 of 117, Talent, 5th grade Spiritual Root, Cultivation Level, 7th level Energy Refinement, Talent, Body Refining Compatibility, 49%, doesn't it display anything about body refinement? Lu Changxing, looking at the system panel, recalled that his interface also didn't show anything about body refinement. Each generation has its own luck, and I share in their blessings too. He didn't mind, took a deep breath, released it, and with great anticipation said, System, draw. Ordinary draws no longer surprised him. But he was still full of anticipation for an advanced level draw. Immediately, the advanced level draw roulette appeared, radiating golden light. Moments later, the golden light paused and landed on the Cultivation Technique Classics reward section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for acquiring the Cultivation Technique, Brahma Demon True Saint Technique. The reward has been placed in the system space, and the host can check it at any time. A pattern of a Cultivation Technique jade scroll emerged from the draw board, accompanied by a system notification sound. A Cultivation Technique, Brahma Demon True Saint Technique. Lu Changxing, seeing this Cultivation Technique, had his heart skip a beat. For ordinary draws that yielded peripheral sect level and orthodox level cultivation techniques, he had lost interest. Even if he got them, they would mostly just serve to enrich the Sutra Pavilion at home. But the cultivation techniques in an advanced level draw tended to surpass orthodox level. However, this technique doesn't look like a regular one. Lu Changxing thought to himself and looked toward the system space. Cultivation Technique, Brahma Demon True Saint Technique. Grade, True Immortal Level. Description, a body refining technique created by the merging of the Buddha, demon, and magical beasts by the ancient demon Buddha Pasun. The cultivation conditions are extremely demanding, requiring simultaneous cultivation of Buddhism and demon paths, using the demonic Tao origin, heavenly demon blood, and Buddhist relic for marrow cleansing to cultivate. True Immortal Level. Lu Changxing, seeing the grade, was ecstatic. He had previously heard from Hong Lian that above-orthodox level techniques, such as the beast technique cultivated by Su Rian, were called profound mystery-level techniques. And this true immortal level was clearly far superior, potentially leading to divinity. However, this technique doesn't seem easy to cultivate. Lu Changxing, looking at the description of the technique, narrowed his eyes. System, Inheritance. Without much thought, he activated the technique with a small motion of his mental spirit. Immediately. Regarding the Brahma Demon True Saint technique, detailed contents and methods of cultivation poured into Lu Changxing's mind like divine insight. Lu Changxing sat cross-legged under the Mount Sumra tree, with a dignified appearance, his mind immersed, quietly realizing this true immortal level technique. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Changxing awoke as if from a dream. Brahma Demon True Saint Technique, what a technique indeed, worthy of being a true immortal level technique. Lu Changxing exhaled deeply, murmuring to himself. Through this technique, he also gained some other information. For example, beyond the known realms of energy refinement, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, and divinity transformation, there were the three great realms of returning void, union, and Mahayana. And this Brahma Demon True Saint technique was one that could cultivate to divinity. Aside from being able to directly cultivate to divinity, its power and effects were also far superior to any technique he currently had. It included various mighty effects and divine skills, such as Demon God Spear, Great Bright King Light Aspect, Extinction Divine Eye, Brahma Demon Holy Body, Brahma Demon True Body, Light Dark Demon Buddha Barrier, Wuxia World. Sight. Co. Chapter 922, True Immortal Level Technique, the first drop of myriad spirits heaven dew. Seeing Lu Changxing couldn't help but marvel, no wonder it was a true immortal level technique. However, in terms of difficulty, it wasn't just demanding, it was downright outrageous. Firstly, one needed to have achieved third-order body refining as a foundation to even attempt this cultivation technique. Then, one also needed to simultaneously cultivate both the demonic path cultivation technique and the Buddhist sect cultivation technique. With these basic requirements in place, one could then try to cultivate the Brahma demon true saint technique. During the process, it was necessary to consume demonic Tao origin, heavenly demon blood, and Buddhist relic for marrow cleansing body refinement to succeed in the cultivation. This demonic Tao origin could be understood as the golden core origin of demonic path cultivators. Heavenly demon blood came from a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast at 3rd rank. As for the Buddhist relic, it was the entirety of origin source left behind when a nascent soul Buddhist cultivator voluntarily entered a state of passing away. Thus, seeing all these requirements, Lu Changsheng was left speechless. He knew he could only look at this technique wistfully. It wasn't just about demonic Tao origin, heavenly demon blood, or Buddhist relic. He hadn't even met the basic requirement of 3rd order body refining. Plus, the methods of the demonic path and Buddhist sect are inherently incompatible. Practicing them together is certainly risky. So, a normal person simply can't cultivate this technique. Lu Changsheng shook his head and sighed, not knowing what to say at the moment. Such a precious advanced draw, obtaining an incredibly powerful technique. Yet he couldn't cultivate it himself, and could only look on. But it's not that there's no way to cultivate it. Once I break through to the core formation, it might be possible to gather these requirements. Lu Changsheng thought obtaining 3rd order body refining in the future wouldn't be difficult. As for cultivating both demonic and Buddhist techniques, he now had the 12 capital demon divine technique, and if he could just procure a Buddhist technique through the system's inheritance and understanding of techniques, he should be able to manage it. As for the 3 requirements for marrow cleansing body refinement, forget it, I'll just cultivate the sun-moon samsara technique instead. Lu Changsheng suddenly felt utterly listless and headed back to Changsheng Hall for comfort. Only the soft snow carpet could now warm the sorrow in his heart. In a mountain forest. Inside a humble thatched cottage. Where am I? Lu Pingan opened his eyes, examined his surroundings, and tried to recall his situation. He vaguely remembered that he was being treated for poisoning and then heard a female voice. Suddenly, a centipede appeared in front of him, bit him, and his entire body stiffened up, unable to move. Then a toad entered his stomach. Thinking of this, Lu Pingan was horrified and immediately checked his body. But he found that his condition was better than it had ever been. Not only was the poison cured, but his body was also filled with strength, as if he could punch through the sky dome. What's going on? Lu Pingan continued to recall, remembering how his consciousness gradually blurred, as if falling into a dark abyss when a speck of starlight appeared. Then, somehow, a strength arose from somewhere and he instinctively operated the 100 refinements treasure body art. It was the orb that father used to give birth to my spiritual root. Lu Pingan was profoundly shaken. He knew that having a spiritual root was due to that orb. Unexpectedly, when he faced mortal danger this time, the orb appeared again. Not only saving his life but also turning his disaster into a tremendous increase in power. As long as there is hope in the heart, miracles can happen, never give up. Lu Pingan remembered these words his father had given him. They told him to persevere through anything, never to despair or give up. Now looking back, he immediately realized, these words referred to that orb. As long as he persisted, did not give up, the light would illuminate him and help him. What exactly is this orb, not only granting me a spiritual root but also having such mystical effects? Lu Pingan was astonished. Having cultivated for so many years, the more he learned, the more apparent the astonishing nature of his spiritual root became. But now he realized that his father did more than just grant him the spiritual root. At that moment, his mood grew heavier, and he felt a more profound sense of responsibility. His father possessed such a cherished treasure but did not use it for himself. There were many siblings in his family, many of whom were more talented than him. Yet his father had given it to him, and as the eldest son, he had failed to set a good example. Creak. At that moment, the wooden door was gently pushed open. A petite girl with her hair tied up in a bun, her appearance fresh and lovely, dressed in a red skirt appeared at the doorway. Big brother, you're awake?" The girl saw Lu Pingan on the couch and exclaimed, surprised and delighted. "Miss, did you save me?" Lu Pingan looked towards the girl, vaguely remembering her voice. "When I was in a dazed state, it seemed like I heard the young girl calling out Xiao Gua, and asking Grandma to save me." "No, not at all, big brother, you recovered on your own." The girl waved her hand, her voice crisp, somewhat embarrassed. "Still, I should thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have been carried off by a wild beast." Lu Pingan showed a hearty smile on his face and stood up to bow in thanks to the girl. "Miss, what eventually happened to the centipede and the vermilion toad that entered my body?" Lu Pingan thought of the two poisonous creatures that had entered his body and still felt a shiver, asking out loud. "Grandma said Xiao Gua and the ironback centipede have formed a balance inside your body." The girl's words trailed off, a downcast expression appearing on her little face. Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this, remembered that the 100 Refinements treasure body art had automatically activated, seemingly refining the centipede and the vermilion toad. Unexpectedly, he was able to make continual breakthroughs in this way with the 100 Refinements treasure body art. "I'm so sorry, so sorry." Lu Pingan instantly expressed with a face full of apologies. Learning that not only did they save him, but also involved their pets, he felt extremely awkward, unsure of what to do. "It's all right, big brother, as long as you are fine." The girl was still somewhat downcast, but knowing that it was irreversible, a faint smile appeared on her face as she said, "I am called Ruan." She had just begun to speak when a cough was heard. "My name is Su Jior, big brother, what is your name?" The girl pursed her lips slightly and spoke, revealing that she had two names. This one was her nickname. "My name is Lu Pingan." Lu Pingan responded. Though he always used a false name when outside, since they had saved him, he did not want to deceive them. "Lu Pingan, does it mean to be safe and sound?" The girl quietly repeated his name twice, tilting her head to inquire. She was innocent and simple, not overthinking, thus speaking whatever came to her mind. "Yes, my father hoped that I would always be safe and sound." Lu Pingan nodded. He had known the meaning of his name from a young age. At that time, the names of his younger brothers and sisters in the family all bore similar meanings: safe and sound, happy and joyous, carefree. "My parents also wish for me always to be safe and sound," the girl said crisply. The two started a somewhat stilted conversation. Meanwhile, outside the thatched cottage in the distance, an old woman with snowy white hair watched from afar. "Lu Pingan. This Jiang country doesn't seem to have the Lu family. Perhaps like the old master, he was sent to Jiang country for refuge and training." The old woman's eyes reflected contemplation. Although she was not a cultivator from Jiang country, she was aware of such situations. Except for the Heavenly Sword sect, which had a nascent soul true lord stationed, the other major powers were all at the nascent soul level. For someone like Lu Pingan, in her view, he likely originated from a family. "This young man doesn't seem cunning. He could indeed engage with the young miss." The old woman quietly observed the conversation between Lu Pingan and Su Jior, not interrupting them. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 4 months passed. Chapter 923, Lu Miaoyun breaks through Foundation Establishment, Tao Foundation Seed. "Myriad spirits heaven do, my husband, won't this be too wasteful?" Lu Miaoyun was amazed to hear that this spiritual liquid could make a spirit plant grow tens or even hundreds of years in just a few days. Wouldn't it allow the golden armor bean mother to bear beans overnight? No worries, let's nourish the bean mother first, we'll still have spiritual liquid later. Lu Changsheng naturally hadn't forgotten his golden armor bean mother. Although the golden armor bean mother was considered as Tao soldier, it barely qualified as a spirit plant. If the myriad spirits heaven do could make the golden armor bean mother bear beans overnight, then just a few decades would be enough to fully realize his earlier puppet C technique, an industrial assembly line. The current puppet factory at home already had an assembly line, but it wasn't yet industrialized. Though it was possible to make puppets to work, the production and maintenance costs of puppets were still higher than human labor. Golden armor warriors were different. Not only was their control superior to puppets, but once produced, their maintenance costs were almost non-existent. Without energy, they just needed to be buried in spiritual earth for 10 days to half a month. Let's go. Maybe, Yuner, you will be the 5th foundation establishment cultivator of our family. Lu Changxing said with a laugh. Though the Tao Foundation establishment of the heavenly longevity technique was rather fragile. Not only could it not drift far from its lifespan spiritual plant, its combat power was at the bottom among its peers, only capable of fighting cultivators at the energy refining stage. But at least it was a foundation establishment cultivator, who could be revered as an ancestor locally. Foundation establishment, Lu Miaoyun pursed her lips, a hint of hope sparkling in her eyes. She was well aware of what the Tao Foundation establishment meant with the heavenly longevity technique. But for her, this was already quite impressive. After all, in her early years, the concept of foundation establishment was unthinkable and out of reach. If you break through to foundation establishment, they'll grandly hold a foundation establishment ceremony for my Yuner. Everyone who sees it will have to call her Lu ancestor. Lu Changxing pinched his wife's still tender and youthful cheek and chuckled. Though he felt such ceremonies weren't that significant. But considering that in the past decades, Lu Miaoyun had been handling mundane household matters for him silently as a wife, with little presence. Others knew about Bai Lake Mountain because of him, Lu Changxing, as well as Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao. So, if Lu Miaoyun achieved foundation establishment, he thought it deserved a minor celebration to make his wife happy. Moreover, this event would also serve as public relations for his own reputation. Lu ancestor, a man of sentimentality and loyalty, never forgets his humble wife. Last year's incident at White Tiger Mountain had somewhat affected the reputation of Bai Lake Mountain and Lu Changxing, so this could serve as a way to restore it a bit. Husband Lu Miaoyun, catching on to her husband's teasing, coyly chided. But in her heart, she couldn't help but visualize herself holding the foundation establishment ceremony. If her grandmother knew she had reached foundation establishment, she would surely be overjoyed. Soon after, the couple arrived at Lingsue Cliff. Greetings to the mountain lord and the madam. Father, mother. Immediately, cultivators and Lu family disciples paid their respects. Lu Changxing nodded briefly and inquired about the situation of the cultivation of spiritual medicines. He seldom came to Lingsue Cliff. As the cultivated spiritual medicines here didn't have any years to them, there really wasn't much to be concerned about. After asking a few questions, he and Lu Miaoyun proceeded to the back cliff, in front of the luminous treasure tree. Although this luminous treasure tree had been planted for over a decade, it remained unchanged as if it had just been planted, without any growth or change. Yuner, I am going to start now. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoyun next to him. Then he took out the myriad spirits bottle and dropped a bean-sized, radiant myriad spirits heaven dew, resembling jade, onto the luminous treasure tree. Buzz, the myriad spirits heaven dew directly merged with the luminous treasure tree, causing the blue-gold luminous treasure tree to flow with a vibrant, green vitality. At the same time, a powerful qi surged out from the luminous treasure tree, enveloping Lu Miaoyun completely. Yuner, how does it feel? Lu Changxing looked at his wife and asked if she felt anything. Now that the luminous treasure tree was refined into her lifespan spiritual root, it was essentially a part of her body. Thus, she could clearly know the condition of the luminous treasure tree. Husband, I feel the luminous treasure tree is growing wildly, feeding me a continuous essence of plants and herbs, enhancing my cultivation level. Lu Miaoyun's spiritual mechanism surged around her, making her deep blue clothes flutter soundlessly without wind. After cultivating with the heavenly longevity technique, normal sitting meditation and taking elixir medicines were ineffective. She could only rely on the constant growth of the luminous treasure tree, her lifespan spiritual root, to absorb the essence of nature and nourish herself. At this moment, as the luminous treasure tree grew wildly, she suddenly felt a surge of spiritual mechanism and plant essence flooding into her body, rapidly enhancing her cultivation level. Good, continue with your cultivation. Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing her words, letting Lu Miaoyun peacefully refine the origin of plants and herbs in her body. Whoosh, as time passed, countless amounts of nature's spiritual energy converged and flowed into Lu Miaoyun, causing her cultivation level to reach the peak of the 9th level energy refinement and gradually start accumulating, preparing for the foundation establishment. The foundation establishment of the heavenly longevity technique was different from most cultivation techniques. After cultivating to a certain extent, there would be a transcendent sense, indicating the ability to break through to foundation establishment. There were no stages or bottlenecks mentioned in the foundation establishment process. It was just like a normal breakthrough, naturally achieved. Seeing the rolling spiritual energy becoming more abundant around them, Lu Changxing looked towards Baiyun Peak and, connecting with Mount Sumeru through divine sense, called out, "Sumeru, bring the spiritual eye spring. Check if Zi Shao is in closed-door cultivation, ask her to come over Wuxia World." Site. Co. Chapter 924, Lu Miaoyun breaks through foundation establishment, Tao Foundation Seed. Lu Changxing said so. He could tell from the current situation that Lu Miaoyun was likely to break through to foundation establishment. Given that, he naturally needed to make some preparations. Although the heavenly longevity technique seldom encountered bottlenecks during foundation establishment and hardly failed, no one in the family had ever cultivated this technique before, so it was still better to play it safe. If Lu Miaoyun truly needed it, he had a foundation establishment elixir on hand. Swish. Above Baiyun Peak, suddenly a golden beam of light shone onto Lingsue Cliff. The spiritual eye spring within the cave heaven immediately appeared beside Lu Changxing, its waters bubbling vigorously, brimming with dense and pure spiritual energy. He had previously chosen not to use this spiritual spring to create a spirit vein, exactly for situations like this. Soon thereafter, an escape light arrived from Baiyun Peak. It was Zi Shao. "Lord, is Miaoyun about to break through to foundation establishment?" She was aware of Lu Miaoyun's situation and, seeing this scene, immediately guessed what was happening. "Yes, she's almost there." Lu Changxing smiled and nodded, "So I'll need your help, Zi Shao, to set up a formation to gather spirit and slightly conceal the activity." "Please, Sister Ling." Lu Miaoyun opened her eyes and thanked Zi Shao. "Miaoyun is too polite." Zi Shao, in a blue dress, looking plump and dignified, elegantly smiled. Then, with a light lift of her palm, an array plate appeared, gently adjusted to make the formation flags on Lingsue Cliff flutter. Lingsue Cliff was already equipped with a formation, linked to the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation, and she could easily operate it now. What's happening with the Great Formation? It seems to be Lingsue Cliff. As the Great Formation operated, people immediately noticed the situation at Lingsue Cliff. However, it was just a passing notice, nothing sensational, because, due to Zi Shao being an array master, the Great Formation of Bai Lake Mountain had been modified several times, each test stirring up quite a ruckus, so everyone was used to it. After all, Bai Lake Mountain was now considered a major family, and no force would bother them. 2 days later. Lingsue Cliff, the rear cliff. "Lord, I think I can break through to foundation establishment." Lu Miaoyun told Lu Changxing, her face showing excitement. Even after so many years at Bai Lake Mountain and knowing that today differed from the past, and that she would ultimately break through foundation establishment with the cultivation of the heavenly longevity technique, she couldn't help but be emotionally stirred now that the day had arrived. "Yuner, has the luminous treasure tree fully assimilated the myriad spirits heaven do?" Lu Changxing asked gently. "There's a little bit left." Lu Miaoyun quietly felt it and spoke softly. "If you feel ready, go ahead and break through, or if you want to be more certain, wait until the luminous treasure tree has completely assimilated the myriad spirits heaven do." Lu Changxing smiled and said. During the conversation, he took out a foundation establishment elixir from his storage ring and handed it to Lu Miaoyun. "I also have a foundation establishment elixir here, Yuner. You can take it if you need it during your breakthrough. So, just proceed with your breakthrough with ease, and don't worry." Lu Changxing stepped forward, gently stroked his wife's hair, and spoke softly. While the heavenly longevity technique didn't require a foundation establishment elixir for breaking through, to prevent unforeseen circumstances, he still presented this elixir to Lu Miaoyun for peace of mind. After all, should any accidents occur, this elixir could protect her meridians and dantian. Lord, Lu Miaoyun hadn't expected her husband to have prepared a foundation establishment elixir for her. Her eyes reddened, touched deeply. Hee, just break through with ease. Lu Changxing chuckled. Emichim. Lu Miaoyun nodded and then sat cross-legged next to the luminous treasure tree to quietly prepare for her breakthrough. Only when her cultivation was fully ripe and nearly bursting, ready to break through naturally, did she begin her breakthrough. Then, as if remembering something, she opened her eyes and said to Lu Changxing, Lord, shall we call over Jinjin and Sister Huanhuan? The book says observing someone else break through foundation establishment is beneficial. Moreover, Jinjin, Sister Huanhuan, and I cultivate the same technique. Lu Miaoyun said that. The three of them cultivated the same technique. Observing this process might provide valuable insights and help for the other two women. That's very considerate of you, Yuner. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow, nodded, and agreed it made sense. Immediately, he transformed into an escape light and went to the Lu family mansion to call his wife Lu Miaohuan and Chu Jinjin. If Lu Miaoyun managed a smooth breakthrough, it could inspire the two women for their future. If something unexpected occurred, they could learn experience and avoid additional detours. In a short while, Chu Jinjin and Lu Miaohuan arrived at Lingsue Cliff. They were quite surprised to know that Lu Miaoyun was about to break through to foundation establishment. Because they knew the heavenly longevity technique was slow in cultivation, fully reliant on lifespan spirit plants, and the spirited environment of Bai Lake Mountain was only moderate, making the growth of spirit plants slow, so Lu Miaoyun might need another decade or even decades to break through. However, learning that Lu Changxing was assisting, they were relieved. After all, over the years, Lu Changxing had become almost omnipotent in their hearts. Just facilitating the early breakthrough of Lu Miaoyun to foundation establishment was nothing unexpected. Miaoyun's sister, you can definitely do it. Chu Jinjin cheered her on. Under their watchful gaze, Lu Miaoyun sat cross-legged beside the luminous treasure tree and slowly circulated the heavenly longevity technique to start her foundation establishment. Humming, bright green energy flowed within Lu Miaoyun's body, emitting a fresh and rich vitality. This energy, stemming from the same source as the nearby luminous treasure tree, caused the tree's cracked bark to gradually seep a blue-golden luster. Soon, the two energies gradually merged, integrating both individual and tree into one. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 925. Lu Miaoyun breaks through foundation establishment, Tao Foundation Seed. The spiritual energy of nature gradually surged towards Lu Miaoyun and the luminous treasure tree, entering the bodies of the two. But compared to ordinary foundation establishment, the speed of this absorption of spiritual energy, the whirlpool of spiritual pressure, could only be considered average. Even with the presence of the spiritual eye spring, there was no need to inhale the surrounding nature's spiritual energy. Using the lifespan spiritual plant to endure the physical and magical barriers of the three trials of foundation establishment, Lu Changxing watched Lu Miaoyun, his eyes slightly narrowed. He could see that the spiritual energy of nature was mainly being absorbed by the luminous treasure tree. The luminous treasure tree then channeled this spiritual energy, along with streams of verdant plant essence and the tree's origin source, into Lu Miaoyun, transforming it into pure mana. Like normal cultivators breaking through to foundation establishment, one needed to endure the high-intensity infusion of spiritual energy. Then, they had to refine this energy, continuously compressing it until the spiritual liquid metamorphosed into mana, elevating the Tao platform. Yet the heavenly longevity technique achieved these steps through the lifespan spiritual plant. What about the third barrier, the divine sense barrier? Could it be that because of the lifespan spiritual plant, there's no need to rely on one's own emergence of divine sense to support the Tao platform, so the presence or absence of divine sense doesn't matter? Upon breaking through to foundation establishment, will there naturally be a transformation of the mental spirit, giving birth to divine sense? Lu Changxing pondered thoughtfully. He had roughly understood why the heavenly longevity technique's breakthrough in foundation establishment had no bottlenecks, and came as naturally as a river flows to the sea. Because as long as one's cultivation level reached the requirement, all conditions could be entrusted to the lifespan spiritual plant, with no need to do anything oneself. Whereas normal cultivators breaking through foundation establishment not only had to withstand the infusion of spiritual energy and stabilize their own condition but also had to wholeheartedly refine nature's spiritual energy. Then, the mental spirit would transform, divine sense would be born, linking to the elixir lake through the divine sense, and lifting the Tao platform. Any slight mistake in these steps could lead to the failure of foundation establishment. The biggest problem for cultivators with a lower-grade spiritual root trying to break through to foundation establishment was the absorption and transformation of nature's spiritual energy. Because the conversion was so poor, the process not only became more difficult but also allowed for no margin of error. They even had to rely on the foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects to meet the requirement. This heavenly longevity technique is truly profound. Lu Changxing inwardly marveled at the mystery of this cultivation technique. This kind of technique, although its grade was unknown, was at least of orthodox level. Like this, the blink of an eye, and half a month had passed. Lu Miaoyun gradually entered the final stage of her breakthrough. The spiritual energy of Lingsue Cliff also became more turbulent, wildly rushing into the luminous treasure tree. However, due to the presence of the spiritual eye spring, though it caused some commotion, it did not form a fearsome vortex of spiritual energy in the sky as most breakthroughs to foundation establishment did, which would swallow the spiritual energy of the surroundings. During this time, Lu Changxing let Ling Zixiao go back to rest, and Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaohuan also went back to rest. He would call them for the final stage. After all, waiting for foundation establishment could be truly dull and tedious. Especially with Lu Miaoyun's situation, one might as well say there was not the slightest ripple. As long as she didn't interrupt herself or cause any mischief, success was certain. Nevertheless, as her husband, unless something major pressed, he would still stay here quietly accompanying her. Another half-month passed. The fluctuation of spiritual energy on Lingsue Cliff gradually returned to calm. Above, a layer of hazy clouds and rainbows appeared, as if congratulating the success of foundation establishment. It's done. Lu Changxing looked at Lu Miaoyun, his face showing a faint smile. He knew that she had broken through to foundation establishment, elevated the Tao platform, and was now undergoing baptism, shedding the mortal coil. Sister Miaoyun seems even younger. Beside them, Chu Zhenjin watched the transforming Lu Miaoyun. She was the first to perceive that Lu Miaoyun seemed much younger. He. Lu Changxing shook his head and chuckled. He thought to himself that, forever youthful, remaining as if only 20 years old, perhaps it put some pressure on his wife. After all, relatively speaking, women care more about this aspect. Although Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenjin, and others had taken preserving appearance elixirs and beauty-enhancing pills in their earlier years, those kinds of elixirs didn't grant eternal youth but only slowed down aging. Lu Miaoyun now appeared to be in her mid-20s, very young, but she probably preferred to be even younger. Therefore, taking advantage of the characteristics of the heavenly longevity technique, her appearance returned to the age of 17 or 18 when she married Lu Changxing. This change made both Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaohuan quite envious. After all, Lu Miaoyun had been young and beautiful for many years due to the heavenly longevity technique. Now she directly reverted to the looks of a 17 or 18-year-old, and with an increasingly fresh and unsullied aura about her, like a lotus flower emerging from the water. Of course they envied her immensely. Husband. Moments later, Lu Miaoyun opened her eyes. Perhaps because she had just broken through, her eyes shimmered with a hint of blue-gold luster. But this did not stop her from looking at Lu Changxing with tender and sweet affection in her gaze. Congratulations to my wife, Yuner, for breaking through to foundation establishment. Lu Changxing, his face full of smiles, bowed to his wife in congratulation. Although Lu Miaoyun seemed much younger in appearance, like 17 or 18 years old, her whole being exuded the dignified beauty only mature women possess. Congratulations to Sister Miaoyun for breaking through foundation establishment. Chu Zhenjin congratulated Lu Miaoyun. Then, quite naturally, she linked arms with Lu Miaoyun and asked, Sister Miaoyun, how did you suddenly become so young? Sister Miaoyun, your skin seems to have improved a lot, and there's a pleasant scent too. She had a very good relationship with Lu Miaoyun, and they often played and joked around with Lu Changxing. Miaoyun, congratulations on your foundation establishment. Dressed in a black, elegant palace gown, with a tall and graceful figure, Lu Miaohuan congratulated Lu Miaoyun as well. In her beautiful eyes, there was also a tinge of admiration, her heart growing more eager and expectant to refine the abyssal ghoul blossom. More than 2 years had passed, and soon Chu Zhenjin would probably refine the auspicious tree into her lifespan spiritual plant, starting to cultivate the heavenly longevity technique. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 926, Lu Miaoyun breaks through foundation establishment, Tao Foundation Seed. _4 But she hadn't yet completed the baptism with the abyssal ghoul blossom or established a connection. I just had a breakthrough in foundation establishment, and I somehow knew the cultivation technique could bring me back to my youth, preserving my youthfulness, so I thought about becoming younger, Lu Miaoyun said somewhat sheepishly. After all, she was already 50 years old, yet she passed herself off as a young girl. But she indeed had her ulterior motives. She didn't want to appear older than her husband, Lu Changxing. So she decided to fix her appearance at 18, the age when she first met Lu Changxing. So, does that mean when I achieve foundation establishment breakthrough in the future, I can do the same? Chu Zhenjin spoke up. Though she wasn't particularly concerned about her current look, seeing Lu Miaoyun's situation sparked an interest in her. Of course, you can, Lu Miaoyun said with a smile. After a brief chat, Lu Changxing turned to his wife and asked, Yuner, did you notice any changes after your foundation establishment breakthrough? He was sure his wife had successfully achieved foundation establishment. But he felt that the way she raised her Tao platform and shed her mortal shell was different from other cultivators. So he wanted to know what the difference was between a breakthrough in foundation establishment using the heavenly longevity technique and a normal foundation establishment breakthrough. Husband, when I had my foundation establishment breakthrough, it wasn't as you mentioned, rising the Tao platform within the elixir lake and shedding my mortal shell, but rather a Tao foundation seed congealed in the elixir lake, Lu Miaoyun's voice explained. A Tao foundation seed? Let me see, Lu Changxing, raising his eyebrows in surprise, said. He immediately took Lu Miaoyun's wrist and checked her condition with his divine sense. The first thing Lu Changxing felt was that Lu Miaoyun's body didn't resemble that of a typical foundation establishment cultivator. A normal foundation establishment cultivator, even one with an ordinary Tao foundation who hadn't practiced body refinement, would still have a physique not far behind a usual martial artist or a body refining cultivator after undergoing the baptism and shedding the mortal shell. But Lu Miaoyun's physical body was still very fragile, akin to that of an energy refining cultivator. However, her mana, flesh, and bones carried a rich life essence. Is this why the heavenly longevity technique grants much longer lifespans than other cultivators at the same level? Discarding all offensive and defensive means, everything is for the sake of longevity, Lu Changxing murmured to himself. Although he had known about the general effects of the heavenly longevity technique, he hadn't fully understood it. But now, through Lu Miaoyun's foundation establishment breakthrough, he gained a deep understanding of the cultivation technique's description about discarding combat capabilities. Whether it was mana or the physical body, everything was geared towards living longer. It seemed that this was also why Lu Miaoyun, after her breakthrough, had the effect of returning to her youth, preserving her youthfulness permanently. His divine sense continued the investigation, focusing on Lu Miaoyun's Qi ocean core. Inside the elixir lake, there was a thumb-sized seed, semi-liquid and semi-solid, wrapped in a greenish-blue golden hue. This seed was exuding a rich stream of life essence, circulating through Lu Miao's mana, limbs, and organs, constantly nourishing her flesh, muscles, bones, and internal organs. This is the Tao Foundation seed of the heavenly longevity technique? Lu Chongqing examined the seed. From it, he sensed an aura of the luminous treasure tree, as if this were a seed from the luminous treasure tree. However, he could tell that this was not a real plant seed. It was something between a seed and a Tao foundation. Yuner has the luminous treasure tree as her life-bound spiritual root, so the Tao foundation seed she congealed is of the same root and origin as the luminous treasure tree. Lu Chengsheng's brows furrowed slightly, though he saw no issue. He just found the situation to be quite rare. With the Tao foundation being a seed during foundation establishment, what will the true elixir be like after core formation? Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He then asked Lu Miaoyan what effects and sensations this Tao foundation seed brought. This seed has an ability called the luminous eye. It allows me to see through illusions, illusion techniques, and various concealing methods, Lu Miaoyan explained. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 927, Luminous Eye, testing the sword in the purple shadow secret realm. Luminous eye can penetrate illusions, illusion techniques, and all sorts of skillful means of concealment. Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow upon hearing Lu Miaoyan's words. As far as he knew, the bedrock Shatter Dao Foundation, the with Flaw Dao Foundation, aside from the traits of the cultivation technique, basically had no substantial abilities or effects. Only those with the Without Flaw Dao Foundation and above would possess characteristic abilities. He hadn't expected that the Dao Foundation seed formed by Lu Miaoyan through her cultivation of the heavenly longevity technique would have such an effect. It was indeed a surprise. However, this Dao Foundation effect seemed more like an ability of a technique. An ability obtained from the luminous treasure tree. After all, the effect of the luminous treasure tree was to condense luminous sweet dew. The sweet dew could be used to wipe the eyes, making them clear and bright, enhancing the divine skills related to the spiritual eyes. It wasn't unreasonable to gain such an ability. Could it be that using the luminous sweet dew to wipe the eyes over a long time and reaching the limit could grant such a luminous eye ability? Lu Chengsheng's heart paused, and he made a guess. He had once tried wiping his eyes with the luminous sweet dew. But since the sweet dew was quickened by Lu Miaoyan and was too scarce, he felt nothing at all. It wasn't even as good as dual cultivating with Lu Miaoyan. Through dual cultivation with Lu Miaoyan over the years, he did feel that his vision had become much clearer. It's quite good. In the future, when our children gain treasures from their experiences outside, we can ask Yuner to appraise them. Or, if any spies want to infiltrate our family, Yuner can see through their disguises with just a glance. Lu Chongqing laughed and said, not taking it too seriously. Lu Miaoyan's ability would be very suitable for exploring ancient ruins and cave mansions. However, he wouldn't let his wife do such things. Moreover, because of the characteristics of the heavenly longevity technique, Lu Miaoyan couldn't stay too far away from spirit plants, unable to leave the vicinity of Bai Lake Mountain. Otherwise, even if not venturing to explore relics or secret realms, with the luminous eye, she could become an artifact appraiser, skilled at finding bargains. It's not that powerful. But I do feel that I have a bit more affinity and insight towards grasses and spirit plants. I estimate that with some more time, I could master techniques like the spring wind turns to rain technique, earth spirit moistening jade technique, and myriad woods condensation technique to become a second-order spiritual planter. Lu Miaoyan said with pursed lips and continued to share her joy. Aside from the knowledge and differentiation of spirit plants, a spiritual plant master mainly needs to master the relevant techniques. Skills like the spring wind turns to rain technique, earth spirit moistening jade technique, and myriad woods condensation technique belong to the advanced skills of a spiritual plant master. You are indeed, my dear Miaoyan, truly wonderful. Lu Chongqing wrapped his arms around his petite wife and praised her aloud. Since family affairs had gradually been handed over to the children and they cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, Lu Miaoyan and others also spent their time practicing the 100 arts of cultivation. After all, there had to be something to do to pass the time when one was idle. Areas like formation, alchemy, artifact refining, and talisman making required high innate talent and were expensive to practice. So on ordinary days, she studied the spirit plants, spirit cooking, wine brewing, healing, and music mastery with Chujinjin. Because of the cultivation technique traits of the heavenly longevity technique, they had very poor effects in offensive skills. Even simple skills like fire control, insect killing technique, and decomposition technique were much weaker than other cultivators of the same level. But they showed a quite good effect in healing technique, quickening technique, and spring wind technique, making them very suitable for roles such as spiritual planters and healers. "It's not me, it's all thanks to you, my husband," Lu Miaoyun said sweetly, looping her arm through Lu Changsheng's. She was very happy about her recent breakthrough to foundation establishment, with her smile radiating joy. "Haha, let's go home and celebrate Yun'er's breakthrough to foundation establishment." Lu Changsheng gently ran his fingers through her hair, ready to take his 3 wives back to the Lu family mansion for a grand celebration. "Husband, wait." Lu Miaoyun spoke, going to the luminous treasure tree, squatting down, and gently lifting her hand. A pool of azure sweet dew, shimmering with a hint of golden luster, slowly seeped out from the roots of the luminous treasure tree. It was the luminous sweet dew condensed by the luminous treasure tree. "Husband, this is the luminous sweet dew condensed by the luminous treasure tree. If it is used regularly to wipe and cleanse the eyes, it should be possible to form an ability similar to the luminous eye." Lu Miaoyun enveloped the crystal-clear sweet dew with her mana and said to Lu Changsheng, "I almost forgot about this." Lu Changsheng eyed the sweet dew before him. The luminous treasure tree at its root could condense a portion of luminous sweet dew every 30 years. But his attention was all on Lu Miaoyun's breakthrough to foundation establishment recently, and he had forgotten about this luminous sweet dew. This made him think the combination of the myriad spirits bottle and the heavenly longevity technique was quite effective. Not only did it steadily improve his wife's cultivation level, but it didn't let the growth and harvest of spirit plants fall behind either. He took out a porcelain bottle from his storage ring, stored the sweet dew, and passed it to Lu Miaoyun. "Yuner, you can give this sweet dew to Zixiao later. She's an array master and cultivates the spiritual eye pupil skill. This dew will be of great help to her." Lu Changsheng thus instructed, letting Lu Miaoyun give the gift on his behalf to thank Ling Zixiao. He hoped the two would become as close as possible. "Okay," Lu Miaoyun agreed with a nod. The trio returned to the Lu family mansion at Baiyun Peak. "Hey, your sister Yun?" "Madam, why have you suddenly become so young?" The concubines and children in the large courtyard were taken aback upon seeing Lu Miaoyun. "Hee, I have good news to announce. Yuner has broken through to foundation establishment today," Lu Changsheng said cheerfully. He had prepared to hold a foundation establishment ceremony for Lu Miaoyun, naturally without any intention of keeping the news a secret. "Ah! Congratulations, Sister Yun." "Congratulations, Aunt." "Congratulations, Madam." These concubines and children were all surprised, and they congratulated her. Wuxia World. Site. Co. Chapter 928, Luminous Eye, testing swords in the purple shadow secret realm. His words and eyes conveyed respect and admiration. Not only for Lu Miaoyun, his official wife, but also for a foundation establishment great cultivator, the foundation establishment ancestor. Then, Lu Changsheng called his son, Lu Yun, and instructed him to prepare for the foundation establishment ceremony. "Ah, mother, you've broken through to foundation establishment." Lu Yun looked at Lu Miaoyun, who appeared to be only 17 or 18, and was utterly baffled. He had never imagined that in such a short time apart, his mother would break through to foundation establishment, leaving him baffled and feeling as if he were dreaming. "Isn't it quite normal for your mother to break through to foundation establishment? If you diligently cultivate on ordinary days, you might break through to foundation establishment in the future," Lu Changsheng said to his son. With so many children in the family, he couldn't possibly attend to all of them personally. But if the children were motivated enough, with the family's resources, they could cultivate to the 9th level peak of energy refinement. As a father, he would always be prepared with foundation establishment elixirs and foundation establishment spiritual objects for them to attempt foundation establishment. How is that normal? Lu Yun really wanted to say this. But still, he obediently responded respectfully, "Your son will certainly try his best." Then, he turned to his mother, Lu Miaoyun, and congratulated her. "Your son congratulates mother on her breakthrough to foundation establishment, her mana achieving great success, her immortal path flourishing, and the future prospects of reaching core formation. Where did you learn such exaggerated flattery? The path of cultivation should be grounded and modest, don't look beyond what is feasible." Lu Miaoyun chided her son with a glance. Yuner isn't wrong, with today's breakthrough to foundation establishment, core formation is just a matter of time, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Husband, thinking of the heavenly longevity technique and the myriad spirits heaven do, Lu Miaoyun felt that indeed, core formation was likely, and looked at Lu Changxing with soft, tender eyes. Lu Yun, witnessing this exchange, felt somewhat redundant, completely unsure of how to engage in his parents' conversation. Husband, perhaps we don't need a big ceremony, just a small family celebration would suffice. Lu Miaoyun suggested, her arm linked with Lu Changsheng's. She was not fond of large gatherings, feeling that a celebration with just the Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain families would suffice. It still needs to be done, though not too elaborately. Just around Bai Lake Mountain, invite those who do business with us. Lu Changxing pondered slightly, then said to his son, Lu Yun. S.E.A. The Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Father, when should we set the date? Lu Yun immediately asked. Just handle those arrangements yourself. Lu Changxing waved his hand dismissively, feeling it was a trivial matter. Let's set it for 2 months from now, keep it simple and just a bit lively. Lu Miaoyun, worried her son might misjudge, instructed. After they had discussed everything, later that evening, Lu Changxing hosted a family banquet to celebrate. The other concubines, upon hearing the news, looked at Lu Miaoyun with eyes full of respect and envy. Especially those who were daughters of families pledged to Lu Changxing later on. Their talents were quite decent, possessing middle-grade spiritual roots. If they cultivated diligently, and even if childbearing delayed them by 3 to 5, or even 10 years. They still hope to cultivate to the 9th level peak of energy refinement and attempt foundation establishment by the age of 60. But in their circumstances, without the resources, they dared not attempt foundation establishment. To do so would be akin to seeking death. Now, seeing Lu Miaoyun's breakthrough to foundation establishment, they naturally guessed that Lu Changxing had supported her with resources. They felt envious, hoping one day to receive Lu Changsheng's favor and support for foundation establishment. I wonder if I could give birth to a Qilin child. One concubine looked at her protruding belly, hoping it would perform well and produce a Qilin child, thereby gaining Lu Changsheng's favor. Having been at Bai Lake Mountain for many years, they had come to understand. Without extraordinary capabilities, gaining Lu Changsheng's favor would only come from the value of their children. Like a concubine named Xiao Yuyao, originally bought by Lu Changxing as a maid, but because she gave birth to a son with a 4th-grade spiritual root, Lu Qingxian, her conditions were far superior to many others. Another concubine, Xia Zhiyue, who had given birth to 4 children all with middle-grade spiritual roots, had even more enviable conditions. Deep into the night, at Baiyun Peak, in an ancient-style room. Afterward. Husband, Lu Miaoyun, who had just broken through to foundation establishment, was now limp as mud, her face fresh and ethereal, flushed with a lazy post-activity glow, her delicate brows and eyes exuding a charming allure. Though she had broken through to foundation establishment and the heavenly longevity technique endowed her with stamina and recovery beyond ordinary, she was still no match for Lu Changsheng's vigor. After all, Lu Changsheng's stamina was simply astounding. All these years, their intimate moments were usually spent with Chu Zhenzhen, or Little Qin, Xia Zhiyue, Xiao Yuyao, among others. It had been rare for them to have such alone time. Today, celebrating her breakthrough to foundation establishment, they revisited their wedding night together. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 929, Luminous Eye, Testing Swords in the Purple Shadow Secret Realm. So, are you comfortable, Yuner? Lu Changxing noticed his wife was genuinely tired and that continuing any further would likely cause her to faint, so he carried her back to their bed. He thought to himself that probably only a nascent soul female cultivator, no, a high-rank body cultivator could solely withstand his punishment. Even after decades of marriage, uttering such embarrassing words was still somewhat hard for Lu Miaoyun. But she knew her husband often liked to tease them this way, and with eyes closed, she whispered softly, "Comfortable, husband, why don't you go find Sister Huan and the others?" After gently being placed on the bed, Lu Miaoyun's jade body glistened with sweat, her skin sleek and shining with luster, and she spoke in a soft voice. "No need, tonight I will stay with Yuner." Lu Changxing cast a cleansing technique to clean the room and peacefully embraced his wife to sleep, experiencing the effects of the tender embrace technique. Because dual cultivation with Lu Miaoyun could yield a slight clarity of vision, he also intended to have Lu Miaoyun practice the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. However, he found that the heavenly longevity technique was exclusive. That is, once one practices this technique, it is difficult to cultivate others, even auxiliary techniques. But relying on his implementation of the tender embrace technique, he could feel that dual cultivation with Lu Miaoyun brought them increased benefits. Yet this increase was still minuscule, and it would probably only show significant effects after many years. Regarding this, Lu Changxing did not pay too much attention. After all, the benefits of dual cultivation were already an unexpected pleasure for him. He didn't expect to gain any advantages or abilities from it. Several days later, news that matriarch Lu Miaoyun of the Lu family at Bihu Mountain had broken through to foundation establishment gradually spread. Regarding this news, there wasn't much of a stir. After all, compared to last year's events where Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga suppressed the great cultivator of Golden Dragon Ridge, and the ancestor of Jin family personally went to Bihu Mountain to apologize and brought a core formation spiritual object, even stating that Lu Changxing was capable of reaching core formation and so on. The breakthrough to foundation establishment was really nothing for Bihu Mountain. It did, however, make many family forces take notice of matriarch Lu Miaoyun. Nevertheless, this news was a huge shock to Qingzhou Mountain. Like a huge stone thrown into a calm lake. The new generation of Qingzhou Mountain disciples might not understand. But Lu Yuanding, Lu Miaochang, Lu Miaofeng, Lu Muping, and other cultivators bearing the Lu and Miao root words certainly knew of Lu Miaoyun's circumstances. 7th grade spiritual root. In terms of cultivation, she could only be considered mediocre and didn't stand out. But now, Lu Miaoyun had actually managed to break through to foundation establishment. Miaoyun breaking through to foundation establishment. Upon hearing this news, Lu Yuanding, Lu Miaochang, Lu Miaofeng, Lu Muping, and others were simply at a loss for words. It was as if they were dreaming. After a long while, when their emotions settled, they became even more amazed by Lu Changxing's methods and foundations. When Lu Changxing helped Lu Miaoga break through, she was at least a predestined foundation establishment candidate. However, Lu Miaoyun was considered someone with no hope of foundation establishment at all. Yet now, she had achieved it and become a high and mighty foundation establishment ancestor. Yuner has broken through to foundation establishment. Xiao Yu, is this true? Don't deceive your great-grandmother, okay? The fourth elder looked at her great-granddaughter with disbelief. She knew very well her granddaughter's circumstances. Although previously, Lu Miaoyun said that because of a cultivation technique, she couldn't leave Bihu Mountain. But this sudden breakthrough to foundation establishment still felt too unreal to her, simply impossible. Great-grandmother, of course it's true. Why would I deceive you? Lu Yu said with a bitter smile. However, when she first heard the news and saw her mother, she was immensely surprised as well. Mother can't come in person to fetch you, so she asked me to take you to Bihu Mountain for a stay. Then you'll know. Lu Yu held her great-grandmother's arm and cheerfully said. All right, great-grandmother will go with you. The fourth elder nodded repeatedly and also felt that it wouldn't be a joke to deceive her. She got up, preparing to go to Bihu Mountain. Despite often visiting Bihu Mountain in the past, she only went back occasionally due to her old age. Subsequently, Lu Yuanding, along with the current family head of Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Munian, Lu Yu, and the fourth elder set off towards Bihu Mountain. After all, there was still much time before the ceremony day. They were going ahead to visit and to congratulate. 100 Birds Lake. The Bai family also received news of Lu Miao's breakthrough to foundation establishment at Bihu Mountain immediately. Let's go, join me in congratulating them at Bihu Mountain. Upon receiving the news, Bai family ancestor Bai Yunyang immediately took 2 family seeds and headed to Bihu Mountain to offer congratulations. These years, with the cooperation between Red Leaf Valley Market and Bihu Mountain, 100 Birds Lake had seen steady growth. Not only did the family have several foundation establishment candidates, but they also had enough resources to plan for foundation establishment elixirs and nurture new foundation establishment cultivators. But foundation establishment elixirs were incredibly hard to come by. Now hearing this news, they immediately speculated that Lu Changxing might have a foundation establishment elixir. Thus, they hoped through the relationship between the 2 families, they might be able to purchase a foundation establishment elixir. After all, among the previous 4 big families, the Yu family had been replaced by Lu Changxing. Centipede Ridge had changed its surname to Su. Qingzhou Mountain also had 2 foundation establishment cultivators in charge. Counting Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaoyun, there were 4 foundation establishment great cultivators. And yet his Bai family still relied on just him alone. Family patriarchs like him, with only 1 foundation establishment cultivator in the family, were often stuck in familial affairs, practically imprisoned. Sar the novel, F. Iyer. Enter website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Unable to go out in search of opportunities, with limited cultivation resources, it was extremely hard to make any advancement in cultivation level and almost impossible to break through the mid-stage of foundation establishment in this lifetime. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 930, Luminous Eye, Testing Swords in the Purple Shadow Secret Realm _4 and moreover, the family was unable to expand outward. Once the foundation establishment ancestor met with an accident, the family would plummet immensely. By Lake Mountain. Grandmother, father-in-law. Upon knowing that the 4th elder and Lu Yuanding had arrived, Lu Changxing immediately brought his son, Lu Yun, and his wife, Lu Miaoyun, together with Lu Miaohuan to greet them. He also asked Mount Sumeru to notify Lu Miaoge. In these days, Lu Miaoge had been in closed-door cultivation in the cave mansion, preparing for the breakthrough to the foundation establishment 4th layer, so she seldom appeared. Great-grandmother, grandfather, grandmother, uncle. Lu Miaoyun was very happy to see her grandmother quietly. After all, because of the heavenly longevity technique, she couldn't actively go to Qingzhou Mountain. And the old people were getting on in age and were not too willing to travel back and forth. You are Yuner? The 4th elder looked at Lu Miaoyun in front of her, slightly stunned. Had it not been for the other party addressing her, she would have hardly dared to recognize her. She even suspected whether Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoyun had another daughter. Grandmother, it's me, Yuner. Lu Miaoyun, finding it both amusing and sad, couldn't believe her grandmother hardly recognized her upon seeing her. But considering her changed appearance, it was normal for the 4th elder to hesitate to recognize her at first. Very good, just like when you were little. The 4th elder scrutinized her granddaughter's appearance, gently stroked her face with a hand and nodded with a smile, so pleased she was grinning from ear to ear. It was quite a while later when she, in an aged voice, said, Yuner, I heard from Xiaoyu that you had reached Foundation establishment, is that true? Even now, she still found it hard to believe the news about her granddaughter's breakthrough to Foundation establishment. Grandmother, it's indeed true. Lu Miaoyun said with a face full of smiles, revealing the aura of her Foundation establishment's spiritual pressure. Although the Foundation establishment attained through the heavenly longevity technique was somewhat frail, but this cultivation base aura was nonetheless genuine. Very good, very good. I never thought I'd live to see my Yuner become a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Her face was filled with satisfaction, her eyes slightly teary. For her, her granddaughter's breakthrough to becoming a Foundation establishment great cultivator was an enormous pride. She kept chatting with Lu Miaoyun for a while, then turned to Lu Chongqing, held his hand, and spoke, Chongqing, thank you for your efforts. The fourth elder knew that her granddaughter's breakthrough was definitely aided by Lu Chongqing. Otherwise, considering her granddaughter's situation, how could she have broken through to Foundation establishment? Grandmother, there's no trouble at all. I'm even raising a big koi dragon, waiting for you to visit. Lu Chongqing said with a smile. But looking at the fourth elder's aged appearance and the signs of twilight, a melancholic sadness surged in his heart. Although the elder had taken first grade and second grade lifespan extension pills, her life was drawing to a close. After all, energy refining cultivators theoretically could live up to 120 years, but few indeed lived to such an age. The fourth elder had been a talisman master in her early years, spending long years crafting talismans, which consumed a great deal of her mental spirit. Now aged over 110, she probably had about 10 years left. Very good, Chongqing, you are very thoughtful. The fourth elder showed a gratified smile on her face, then looked at her great-grandsons and said, Yuner, Xiaoyu, you also need to work hard, aiming to reach Foundation establishment in the future. Yes, great-grandmother. The siblings exchanged glances and then nodded in agreement. Father-in-law, Sister Miaoga is currently in closed-door cultivation for her breakthrough, and I have already sent her a message. At this time, Lu Chongqing explained to Lu Yuanding. This father-in-law was also now more than 80 years old. His hair was silver, and his face showed the marks of age, lacking the scholarly youthfulness of his earlier years. It's all right, cultivation is more important. Lu Yuanding waved his hand and declared. S.E.A. the novel, F. Ire. And a website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Looking at Lu Yun and Lu Rain, he couldn't help but think of his own grandchildren, Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, showing a hint of longing and envy in his eyes. Although they were all one family, he naturally felt closer to his daughter's children. Especially since he had raised Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu practically single-handedly. Grandmother, father-in-law, you must be tired from the journey, let's go inside first. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing led the two towards the Lu family mansion, then said to his son Lu Yun, Yuner, when you have time, make sure to interact more with Moon Yen. He naturally knew why Qingzhu brought Lu Monyan along. It was in the hope that the two families would interact more often, growing closer. Yes, father. Uncle, take care. The two nodded in response. You country, Jinyang sect. Are you going to the Purple Shadow Secret Realm? Tianyuan True Immortal looked at Lu Qingshan with some surprise. Although the Purple Shadow Secret Realm was in Jiang country, because the two countries were neighbors, even cultivators from Yu country would make their way there. For years later, I need to head to the Qingming Secret Realm. Currently, the Purple Shadow Secret Realm is about to open. I intend to use this opportunity to go there to test my sword skills and temper myself. And I promised little Zhu that after my breakthrough to Foundation establishment, I would take her home for a visit. But with the matter of the Qingming Secret Realm, after my breakthrough, I definitely won't have time to take little Zhu home. So I thought that this trip to the Purple Shadow Secret Realm could also include taking little Zhu home for a visit. Lu Qingshan, with his handsome face and bright eyes, and showing a white, toothy smile, stood tall as he spoke. In that case, I will take you and Qingzhu there later. Tianyuan True Immortal pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Though the Purple Shadow secret realm was dangerous, Lu Qingshan's current combat strength was virtually unbeatable below the level of Foundation establishment. He was essentially safe from any severe danger. And since Jiang country was dominated by the Heavenly Sword sect, a top-tier sect of sword cultivators, this trip to the Purple Shadow secret realm would enable Lu Qingshan to spar and exchange blows with the disciples of Heavenly Sword sect, thereby achieving a certain level of tempering. By then, after completing his journey through the Purple Shadow secret realm and breakthrough in cultivation to Foundation establishment, Lu Qingshan would be better prepared for the Qingming secret realm. Thank you, Master. Lu Qingshan immediately bowed with a smile. He then said farewell to his master and went to share this news with his sister. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 931, Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu return home. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. Today was the Foundation establishment ceremony of matriarch Lu Miaoyun of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Although they decided to keep everything simple, without too much pomp, still, it was his mother's Foundation establishment ceremony, so Lu Yun had spared no effort in making it a lively event. Bian Villa's Grand Hall. Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoyun, and the fourth elder sat in the primary seats. Congratulations to Mother, to the lady for breaking through to Foundation establishment, fortune as vast as the Eastern Sea, longevity like that of Southern Mountain. Congratulations, lady. The Patriarch's lady. Wishing the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family climbs to new heights. One after another, Lu family disciples and guests presented gifts to Lu Miaoyun, expressing their congratulations in a joyful and festive manner. Many other family forces and guests, through this Foundation establishment ceremony, became aware of Lu Miaoyun's situation. They learned that in her earlier years, she was merely an ordinary legitimate daughter of the Lu family of Qingzhu Mountain, with mediocre spiritual root talent. Now, seeing her breakthrough to Foundation establishment, they immediately realized she had been supported by Lu Changsheng. This had caused the reputation of Lu ancestor, known for his deep loyalty and affection, yet indulgent in old affections, to evoke the admiration of many. After all, such an opportunity for Foundation establishment was rarely bestowed upon someone with previously ordinary talents instead of the genius children of the family, the Foundation establishment seeds. This incident led many family forces to speculate that Lu Changsheng must possess multiple Foundation establishment pills, which was why he was so generous. Many came offering gifts with indirect inquiries, indicating that if Lu Changsheng had more Foundation establishment pills, they would be willing to purchase them at a high price. After all, although there was hope to buy Foundation establishment pills in the 3 great immortal cities, it was not so easy. They would have to wait until the pills entered the market. But with long distances to travel, most families dared not carry huge sums of money to the immortal cities to bid on Foundation establishment pills. So if Lu Changsheng had Foundation establishment pills, even at a premium price, they were interested. Faced with this situation, Lu Changsheng couldn't help but feel both amused and bemused. It had never occurred to him that people would think Lu Miaoyun could only break through with a Foundation establishment pill. However, this was normal. He then tacitly confirmed the matter, claiming that years ago, he had gone to Azure Phoenix Immortal City and acquired that single Foundation establishment pill, without any others. After the ceremony was over. Lu Family Mansion. Sir the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Venture into the Purple Shadow secret realm? Lu Changsheng frowned upon hearing his son Lu Quanzhen's words. This year, Lu Chuanzhen had mostly been stationed at White Tiger Mountain. He hadn't expected that upon returning home for the ceremony, Chuanzhen would express his desire to enter the Purple Shadow secret realm. He was well aware of the Purple Shadow secret realm. A secret realm held by several immortal sects of Jiang country, filled with chances and heavenly and earthly treasures. It would open once every 30 years. Years ago, when the lifespan of the previous generation's ancestor of Qingzhou Mountain was running out, Lu Yuanzhong managed to break through to Foundation Establishment thanks largely to the Purple Shadow Secret Realm. Even the Foundation Establishment elixir he had obtained from Meng Xiaochan had come from within that secret realm. Lu Changxing had long since been aware of the opening of the Purple Shadow Secret Realm. But he had no intentions himself. After all, such secret realms were filled with danger. That year, when Lu Yuanshan of Qingzhou Mountain had taken 2 elite members of the Lu family there, Yuanshan came back with a severed hand, and one of the Lu family disciples was buried within the realm. The father of Xia Zhiyue had also gone to the Purple Shadow Secret Realm. Although he had survived and emerged, he was ambushed halfway through his journey and ultimately perished. Chuanjin, you only need to concentrate on cultivating peacefully. In 2 more years, you can attempt Foundation Establishment. At that time, after you have broken through, if you wish to gain experience from traveling abroad, I will not stop you. Even if you fail to break through to Foundation Establishment, I still possess Foundation Establishment Elixir and Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects. There's no need for you to risk entering the Purple Shadow Secret Realm. Lu Changxing spoke seriously, not willing to let his son take risks in the secret realm. Father, Lu Chuanjin had anticipated his father's refusal. Compared with most cultivators, his own father was excessively cautious. He suddenly looked up at Lu Changxing, his expression earnest, and said, Father, Chuanjin knows you wish only the best for me. But these are experiences that, if I don't go through now, I will have to face in the future. This world is vast. I want to step out of Bihu Mountain, out of Jiang Country Cultivation Realm, to see the whole Southern Wilderness Cultivation Realm. I also made a promise with my uncle that within 100 years, would break through core formation and condense a superior gold core. Even if I have the opportunity by my side to break through Foundation Establishment with ease, continuing like this, I will definitely not be able to achieve core formation within 100 years. My only choice is to strive. The Immortal Path is all about struggle, daring to struggle and being able to compete. My journey to the Purple Shadow Secret Realm is not only for the chance but also about the willingness to compete. This is the first step that truly puts me on the Immortal Path, to witness the harrowing and bloody realities of the immortal world. If I cannot compete and emerge victorious within such a Qi refinement secret realm, how can I aspire to the great Tao in the future and achieve core formation by the age of 100? Lu Chuanjin looked calm and serious as he spoke. Although his father rarely displayed a casual indifference outwardly, simply desiring an ordinary and stable life, he knew that his father was not as simple as he seemed. Otherwise, he couldn't have reached this point, achieving such success. Therefore, with these words, he believed that his father would surely understand the reasoning within. Sigh, Lu Changxing felt a headache coming on as he listened to his son's flurry of words. Indeed, as Lu Chuanjin said, to achieve something significant in cultivation, one must struggle. It was nearly impossible to cultivate successfully and steadily without contention. Even with a heavenly spiritual route, avoiding initial bottlenecks, there was still a need for wealth companion Dharma land. Unless one had a system like he did. Cultivation is like crossing a river, a race with thousands of horses competing for the sails. As long as there's desire for the immortal path, this competition in life cannot cease. Not to mention anything else, his good friend Li Feiyu was one example. Chuanjin, the immortal path is fraught with difficulties, and every time the Purple Shadow Secret Realm is opened, countless enter, but less than half make it out alive. Although his son had such determination and was willing to work hard to that extent, it was a good thing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.